Good evening and welcome, sock puppets, sociopaths, leftoid grommets that sneak in, and various journoids who I have no doubt are lurking anonymously. This is episode 9 of the Stream of Consciousness of season 2, which makes it more like something like episode 25. I am genuinely surprised that we've been doing it this long, but thank you for coming along with me while I do it. This episode is going to come with a small warning right at the beginning because I am suffering from incredible nicotine withdrawals right now. As those of you who frequent flyers on Stream of Consciousness know, I chug on a vape and even sometimes have a Zin in while I'm doing them. And thanks to the ineptitude, incompetence, and myriad policy failures of the Australian government, there are no vapes in Tasmania right now. We are suffering a vape shortage, a generational vape shortage. Funnily enough, the funniest part about it, not even caused by the government stopping them being imported. It's just because the Strait of Hormuz has been blocked and bulk goods are coming through late. They're parked at Karachi, so everything's getting in a week later than people thought it would. So, yeah, I have been rationing my remaining nicotine. I've been smoking, which sucks. It's disgusting. I hate it. They taste bad. I have like 9% on one, which I've been saving just to get through this stream, just for you guys. Because otherwise I'd just be too cranky. But there's still going to be some residual crankiness coming through, I think. Look, the big news of the week, of course, is the Strait of Hormuz and the fact that we are running out of fuel, maybe not. Nobody knows. And look, politicians are going to be talking this up a lot. You know, it's in some people's best interests to say that there is a fuel shortage. It's in others to say there's not. The honest to God truth is we don't know, because actually a lot of when you see them say like, oh, we have 23 days left, like those assessments, which are like an OECD standard, it dates back to 2019, from a time when there were less EVs on the road, from a time when we were also using a ton of diesel fuel to run diesel backup generators for our derelict energy grid, which doesn't have enough juice in it. So we don't know really how much is left. All we know for absolute certain is that no one trusts the government enough to not panic buy fuel. No one trusts them. You got guys running out to petrol stations, filling up water tanks. And I saw someone filling up a hot water cylinder on Instagram today. Like, no one trusts them. Like, in fact, when Chris Bowen said, don't panic buy fuel, I think that was the trigger for a lot of people to go, shit, we've got to start panic buying fuel. So it does, at this point, like, it doesn't really matter how many more days of fuel we have left, because no one believes them and everyone's just going to keep buying at spiking demand. So we got a serious problem in this country. And look, it's making people ask some good questions. People are wondering why we don't have domestic oil capability. People are wondering what happened to our old fuel reserve that they made a big deal out of. But it's not going to end anytime soon. And of course, then you got the double whammy of an interest rate rise today, and there's no sign of inflation going down. So we have all the makings of an economic crisis. And no one's really doing much about it. Which is why today on X, I said the biggest question in Australian politics is, will the fuel run out before Tony Burke deports the upskirt Vietnamese international student? Which I think is the other news story that has got everyone seriously riled up this week, and for very good reason. For those of you who don't know, who've been hiding under a proverbial rock, this is a guy, he's a medical student. He got busted taking, I've seen reports of anywhere between 250 to 350 photos under a toilet stall of unsuspecting women, first at a uni dorm and then at the uni itself. He was busted because the guy's clearly some kind of cretinous moron. He's gone to court. he's been, I mean, he's like been convicted, but it's like one of those no conviction recorded ones. He's got, the school hasn't revealed yet whether they've gotten rid of him, which makes me think they haven't got rid of him. Right. And plus the fact that he was a medical student was a major point of his defense in his like character statement to the court, which helped him get off. And now this guy's just walking around like, I don't know, like, does he get to keep the photos? Like, does he still have it? Is he locked in his dorm gooning to them? How does this guy exist? Why was this guy in the country? It took, now I don't like to play whataboutism. I like to consider most things, you know, to be discrete individual occurrences. But it took Tony Burke, and if there's any Wignats in the chat, I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong here, but I seem to recall it taking him only about 24 hours to get the guy who held the Abolish the Jewish Lobby sign kicked out of the country. One day, he's standing outside Parliament House with his buddies in his Helly Hansen jacket, holding a sign that said Abolish the Jewish Lobby, and the next minute, he was on a plane home. How do we get him out in 24 hours? And like the guy, I don't know if I can say this guy's name. I'm not sure if it's like suppressed or anything, and I'm not going to say it because I also can't pronounce it. It's like Ban Mi Bakbalfan or something. I don't know, some kind of Star Wars name. But like, how do we not have this guy out in 24 hours? 24 hours after the court said, yeah, you kind of did do all these upskirt photos. Why wasn't he on a plane? Do we need doctors that badly? I think the average Australian woman would take her chances with ChatGPT rather than have this guy as their GP. How is he still in the country? He's still in the country. Now, as someone said in the chat, right? Oh, his visa's up for review. But I mean, come on. They didn't review the NSN guy's visa. They don't review any of these visas. When they want you out, you're out. So why is this guy being reviewed? Like, what is he, the fucking grandson of Chairman Mao? Oh, actually, no. Who's the Vietnamese one? Ho Chi Minh? Is it Ho Chi Minh's grandson? For what possible reason does Tony Burke not have this disgusting cretin on a plane? We don't know. It's got, I mean, in a rare show of journalistic, I don't know if integrity is the right word, but at least interest from a bunch of people who aren't even that interesting. It's got the female journos rolled up. They're pissed. I've never seen the girls chase a guy that hard down the street. And the guy just looks pathetic. Like, he just looks like a worm. He's hiding his face under a fucking folder. I mean, come on, man. We think you all look the same. Why just hold your head high? Like, no one's going to recognize him. Who's going to recognize that guy? He's walking down the street. I wouldn't know that he was the upskirt man. Like, and this, I think this is going to be a game changer for just normies, right? Normies are talking about this one. They're scratching their heads, going, wait a second. Something's not right here. And there is just this all-pervasive feeling right now that the government just hates us. They just hate us. You know, there's only one reason why you wouldn't get rid of this guy is because you're worried about electoral blowback. So you got every female journalist at every network on your case. You got every woman in this country on your case. But you're still more worried about international students and the legal ramifications for the university. I mean, what kind of bizarro world bullshit is this? It just should be the easiest thing in the world, right? A review. Come on. So, look, I think we may run out of fuel before they get rid of him. This guy could be, you know, writing your pill prescriptions before, you know, he gets deported. It's crazy. So Walmart Gollum says his name was Matthew Grutter. I forgot about it. Yeah, he was a legit engineer too. Yeah, he was already an engineer. He had a wife. He had a kid. I think his wife was Australian, maybe. But, you know, abolish the Jewish lobby sign. He was out. So, yeah, it's definitely been a weird one for the government this week. They are making strange calls on Iran, very strange calls. You know, the Americans have asked for help. We have a navy. We're refusing to send help to, you know, and I don't think at this point Trump is asking us to bomb anything. He's asking us to help secure shipping lanes which we use, which we have, whether or not you agree or don't agree with the regime change in Iraq. You have to agree that we need to get shit in and out of the strait and ship it around, like my fucking vapes, right? But he doesn't want to do it. Why? And it was incredible. I saw a normal person, just an ordinary, everyday person, not that engaged with radical politics, just shrug yesterday and say, "Oh, well, he doesn't want to piss off the Muslim lobby, right?" Like this is getting through there. This is getting out there amongst people. They know the score now. They know that everything is electoral. So who knows what's going to happen next, guys? Who knows? Funny stuff out of Melbourne today. Did you guys see the Jess Collins swimming video? That actually made the news tonight, incredibly. We get Melbourne news down here in Tasmania, and it was like the lead political story. Jess's inner bathers with drop earrings as well. I don't know. There's never any women in the chat, so we can't ask them. But do you girls wear earrings when you swim? I thought they'd come out. Skull says, Jess who? Yeah, man. I don't know. So Walmart Golem says, is Jess a downy? I don't think so. I think I'd like her more if she was. I think she'd be winning if she was. Yeah, I'm just making up names now. Yeah. The Victorian election is going to be fascinating. The South Australian election is going to be more fascinating. What's with One Nation suddenly having a problem with people without RSAs pulling beers? I mean, that was the dumbest sledge that they could have done on Mali, whose name, I mean, I'm half Greek and I can't even pronounce his name. I'm not even going to bother trying, but just the guy's pulling beers. Cool. Well, he gets votes. You get votes from that. Politicians and beer is a vote winner. Politicians and dogs, politicians and kids, politicians with beer. Well, not always politicians with kids. It's got to be the right circumstance for the kids. You need a lot of kids at once. If it's just a politician and one kid, they must start asking questions. Politician at a school kind of works. But politicians with beer has been a vote winner for time immemorial. And they're making a big thing out of it because he was pulling beers for punters. Look, the guy is a peak managerial Democrat. He is a progressive swine and responsible for the dystopian environment in which our country exists. I mean, he was one of the architects behind the social media bans and stuff. But you talk to anyone who works over there, and like everyone knows he's a good guy. The whole state knows he's a good guy. You're never gonna beat a good guy like him with criticizing him for pulling a beer. That's just dumb, and it's worrying, frankly. Like, look, Corey Bernardi's doing okay. I mean, he's a bit politician-brained, but he's doing all right. But you have to be worried. I'm worried about One Nation's performance, which is, electorally fine. I mean, the polls have them up, but their tactical performance, their strategic performance is miserable. But they really don't seem to know what they're doing. They don't seem to know what they want to achieve. I don't think a lot of them even know if they want to win. And they seem so down on winning. Like, they're constantly putting it down, the chances they could win. Green Goblin says Poland field an essay last night said Lib wipeout. Yeah, that's what everyone's hearing, dude. I think we broke it on this show maybe about 2 months ago that the Libs had discreetly asked the Clerk of the Parliaments for advice on what happens to them if they win those seats. That's crazy. Bully Bullpit says Mark Latham reading to kids. I think Mark would get along fine with kids. He's not one of the ones you wouldn't put around kids. Who else we got in the chat, guys? We got a good TLD streak to start. I was impressed with that. Sneed Redeem says maybe 10% of the cars on the road are EVs. 2019 stats are close enough. I don't know. I think they have gone up quite a bit since then. Quite a bit. I think someone thought in the chat that I was leaving before. No, I wasn't saying I was leaving. This wasn't like a goodbye thing. It was just a recognition of how long we'd been doing it. No, I'm going to keep doing it. So long as I can get more vapes. That's the most important thing. Green Goblin says, are you yay or nay on Jess Wilson's video? I'm a hard nay. That thing was a disgrace. It was aesthetically abhorrent. All she did was proved to Victorians that her entire front bench are fat and slow and shouldn't be allowed to play sports. Like, Colin Penrose says, I'm starting to think One Nation might be full of retards. Like, as I've said frequently on the show, they are full of retards. That's not up for debate. I will win any debate with anyone who challenges me on One Nation retardation. We all know they're retards. The question is, I don't think it's even a question. I think the Australian public's already made up their minds that they would rather be governed by retards than the current supposed not retards who are running out of fuel, not deporting perverts. I mean, you're probably like a litany of dumb things they've done just this week. Me running out of vapes. Taranango says Drew Pavlou is going to shill them so hard in 2028. Is that One Nation you're saying that will shill them? Yeah, look, we'll all shill them, man. We all have to shill them. Like, unless there's another party that appears, unless there's like a reform style bunch of high IQ dudes who get together and start something else that isn't Ruddock, right? Sorry, not Ruddock. Rennick. We got to shill them. What else is there? They're Skull says Drew will run. Yeah. Someone's got to do it. I mean, someone's got to run. I mean, it would just be nice to have someone halfway intelligent in there. The economic data out of this week and what the RBA have just said is extremely concerning. Like, extremely concerning, because RBA is trying to control inflation with these interest rate rises, but the source of inflation is nothing related to interest rates, right? You put up interest rates, it's not going to, it affects home loans, right? But no one's going under, no one's selling their houses, right? We've got an environment where fuel is getting more expensive, which is part of inflation, which is going to make food more expensive, which is an even bigger part of inflation, which is going to end up long-term making energy more expensive, which is already the most expensive part. Like, tell me where the downward pressure on inflation is, because it's not on interest rates, right? In fact, I see a significant scenario, where this makes it worse, because what has every boomer been doing for the last 2 weeks? Boomers aren't stupid. The second those bombs started falling in Iran, every half-decent financial advisor in the country recommended you take your investments out of the ASX, they put them in bonds, they put them into term deposits, right? So if you pulled your money out of the ASX a week and a half ago and it's now in a term deposit, the interest rate going up means you have more money. Don't even get me started on the bond market, which is going to be a fucking disaster for the government, because some of these 10-year bonds, they're maturing and their value's going through the roof. They're going to have to pay. The yields are going to be due. And what would be the smartest thing to do in this inflationary vortex that threatens to blow our country away would be to cut immigration, right? The biggest driver of demand is people. We're not talking about that, though. In fact, we're bringing more people in. We're getting like Iranian soccer players to stay. Now we're telling the underskirt sex pest can stay. God knows how many they're going to bring in this year. They're arguing about it. They're saying, it was only 250,000 unless you count the real number, in which case it was 550,000. But please don't count the real number. Come on, man. It's going to get worse. It's going to get way worse. Panic buy fuel, you should be panic buying fucking food. Like, when these vapes get delivered, I'm going to take a shopping trolley down there with me. I'm panic buying nicotine. He's selling Zins during the apocalypse. Sneed Redeem says Rennick on Carl's show was abysmal. He has the social skills of a 10-year-old. But again, like we knew that. We've known that since the last election. And this is why everyone who ever talked to him walked away going, yeah, he's not the guy. I don't think there's any chance he's the guy. Amal RT9XD says, how does One Nation win the youth? Well, I mean, just by existing currently, right? You look at those numbers, they've already got them. You know, you can't be sitting in the high 20s like they are, possibly even 30% if they haven't already appealed to the youth. Young people are pissed off, and young people are bifurcating. Some are going to vote Green because they hate Israel and their dads, and some are going to vote One Nation because they read, I guess, and they just don't give a fuck. And like, that's kind of one of the defining features of a lot of like normal young people, putting aside the crazy Palestine people and some of you grommets with frog avatars. But like normal young people have adopted a political position of radical nihilism. And frankly, who can fucking blame them? I'd say that the longer this bullshit goes on, it's more increasingly more what I believe in too. It's just getting very hard to care. And I was writing about this yesterday. I haven't put anything up yet because I've been lazy and because I've had fucking nicotine withdrawals. But you know, the worst thing about life in modern Australia is that not just nihilism, but that joy in watching their failures. You know, it shouldn't be good to watch the government fail. You should not feel good when it happens. But when you watch these guys' policy failures, when you watch things go badly, like your first reaction is just laughter. Like, did everyone see the report on the under 18 social media ban? You know, weeks of political capital, all that nonsense, all that bullshit, and it has had zero effect. The kids are all still online. Just did nothing. It did absolutely nothing. And you look at something like that and you're good. I'm glad. Like, I hope it's embarrassing. I hope that the people responsible for that struggle to find jobs, which they probably won't. You know, I saw an amazing one a couple of days ago. Just the most like incredible policy failure in real life. It was the day. Sorry, the stream's gonna be a bit weird for a second. It was the day that I found out that Tasmania had run out of vapes. And I went down to the vape shop to buy them, and there were none there. And as I was walking out, there was a girl who was walking in, and she just like burst into tears. Because I don't know if you guys know many women under the age of 25, but you don't take their vape away. Like, if they lose their vape down the fucking corner of the couch, it's a nightmare for them. They go insane, right? So this girlfriend actually couldn't get a vape. She fucking loses it. So it's bawling her eyes out in the middle of the shop. Anyway, I leave. Couple of minutes later, I'm in the car park and I hear this like hacking cough behind me. I turn around and it's that girl with a pack of cigarettes, smoking one for what I would subsequently find out was the first time. So this girl was in her early 20s. She'd never smoked. She'd been vaping for years. She couldn't get a vape. So what did she do? She bought a pack of cigarettes. And my first thought, and I felt so bad for thinking this, but the first thought I had was, God, I hope she gets lung cancer. Because like that's just the double whammy for the government. So you've got a safer alternative product that you prevent people from accessing. So they go back and get the worst product and start doing it again. And then because they're not paying taxes, were she to get a respiratory illness, there is less money in the budget to cover it. Just like this compounding policy failure, right? I went up and talked to her, and I did feel so bad about thinking she should get lung cancer. I gave her the last vape that was in my pocket, which was really dumb, and I've been regretting ever since. So Walmart says, did I get her number? I did get her number, but only because I gave her the WhatsApp of the guy I get my Zins from, who, unbeknownst to me at that time, was also out of Zins. So this is the world we live in. We're ordinary people. Like this poor girl probably didn't want to be in one of Australia's shittiest suburbs talking to a guy who looks like Rasputin with a thyroid problem about getting a fucking vape dealer to deliver them to her house. It's not grooming. It's just meeting girls. This is why you Zoomers are so fucking dysfunctional. Because you think it's not grooming, it's just regular seduction. I saw one of you guys tweeted this today. You don't need dating apps. You can just talk to women in the street. Half the world is women, and they're just out in the street. The only place you can't talk to women is when they're in the toilet stall at university. It's the only time you can't talk to them. Yeah. But yeah, that was a real life policy failure. I just thought it was the funniest thing to see it in real life. There's someone having their first cigarette. She didn't even know how to smoke. I had to explain to her how to smoke. And then I realized like I'd forgotten too. It's been so long that I've done it. Taryn Ango says you can't talk to them online because they're all ASIO agents. That's right. And if they're not ASIO agents, they're sent by the Rothschilds. And if they're not ASIO agents or sent by the Rothschilds will make them not love you. This is the problem. Wattle Crown asks an interesting question, John. Why is the federal government running wall-to-wall consent ads? Probably because you guys are doing too many rapes. Speaking of government ads, you know what they are running everywhere is the what to do in a terrorist attack ads. Again, which they started running right before the Bondi massacre. I don't want to say there's a connection, but like I said, stock up on fuel, maybe food. I don't think the consent ads really work that much. I don't think there's going to be any good data on it. Speaking of consent, Grace Tame made something of a splash this week. She's now the arbiter of when rapes did and didn't happen. She's decided that Hamas have not been doing them, which I don't know anything about. I choose not to get into Israeli Hamas propaganda. I don't see any point in it. But everyone's just rallied around to smack the shit out of her. I don't like it. I find no joy in it. I know she annoys some people, but look, at the end of the day, she's clearly mentally ill. And I don't think that's even up for debate. I read most of her book. I mean, she details it in the book. Like, you wouldn't let her operate heavy machinery. Maybe we shouldn't let her go on TV and talk to journalists and address the nation and say whatever pops into her head. Maybe the problem isn't the dumb things that come out of her mouth. Sometimes the things that come out of her mouth are true. The problem is maybe you can't let people like that do that. And I just don't think it's got anything to do with her politics or anything else. It's got to do with something much deeper problem about Australia, where because we have this egalitarian mindset, because we get so obsessed with, this idea of false equality, with what I sometimes refer to as toxic egalitarianism. Because of that, we can't admit to ourselves that some people shouldn't be allowed to be in public life. We have this idea that, everyone can be in public life. That's what democracy is. It's what egalitarianism is. And it's really not. That actually Western societies, strong body politics have always excluded some people because they're fucking insane. And you have systems, you have a kind of crucible for people as they enter public life to figure out how fucking insane they are. And you get to a point and you say, no, you're not right for it. And you give them the flick. And you let them down easy. But some people can't do it. And we don't do that in this country. And one of the reasons we don't do it is because if we did it, Grace Tame's as insane as she is, but she's probably less heavily medicated than some people in our national cabinet. Right? Ultimately, this is the problem. The people in newsrooms, the people in government, state, federal, especially local government, right? They're fucking mentally ill. They're seriously mentally ill. I think I've told this story a few times on the show, but I've only ever been really scared for my safety in a political context once in my life, and it was during the opening kind of days of the COVID lockdowns, and I turned on the TV. And it was just after I'd stopped working in politics, so I didn't have a skin in the game. So it was the first time I've ever watching a political or social crisis as an outsider. And I was watching the guys at the very first press conference, and there was one guy in particular who I won't say his name because he'll sue the shit out of me, but he was a very senior member of that circle at the time. And I was sitting there while he's the one making the decision about who can leave the house. And I knew full well the extent to which that guy had bipolar, had a shopping list of serious mental illnesses. I knew that staffers had covered for him for years. I knew how heavily medicated he was. I knew that there were days where you couldn't even have him in Parliament. He was so heavily medicated. But because we have this egalitarian society, we just say, oh yeah, you can be up to your eyeballs on lithium. You can still be a cabinet minister. That's fine. And he was making the decisions. This was one of the guys that decided that you couldn't leave your house, that decided who could and couldn't have a job, who decided who could and couldn't come into the country and for how long they'd sit in hotels. And this guy would not be allowed to drive a forklift. He could not get a forklift license. But he's allowed to do that. And everything flows on from there. You know, journalists pursue these stories. The journalists, they're all fucking mentally ill. They are. I've never known one that wasn't. They have deeply disordered personal lives. You know any of them for 5 minutes, you figure this out. But no one gatekeeps it from them. So you'd have to, you'd have to get everyone out if you started gatekeeping it. And Grace Tame and the weird shit she talks about and these confected crises that she, poor thing, gets herself into, she's just the end of that road, right? She's just the end result of when you don't gatekeep politics from crazy people. You make one of an Australian of the Year, which I actually think was well deserved. I think everyone's forgotten now, putting aside whatever happened to her as a kid. She was a darling of Conservatives prior to 2019. You guys have probably all forgotten this now, but she went around the country campaigning to be able for victims to be able to come forward and name men who had committed offences after they were convicted, which is an extremely agreeable policy. Do you know, I think we wouldn't even know the name of Star Wars Upskirt Man if not for that law, right? It was a good law and everyone liked it. She was posing with politicians. I'd seen her on one of those circuits. She was talking, I was with one of my bosses at one point, and we all knew she was crazy. You could tell just by seeing her for 5 minutes. But in Australian public life, they still let you in the door. You know, it's crazy, man. It is absolutely crazy. Yeah, I'd like to, but I'm not going to go through the chat and just repeat all the politicians that you've seen her on SSRIs. I mean, just being on SSRIs isn't even the worst one. Yeah. Iron deficiency animal, says Grace Tame in 2028. The fake of Nanking, as I like to call it. That's a good one. It's actually a good one. I don't even care about it. Like, I mean, I actually don't think it should be controversial to say, hey, maybe the Israelis weren't telling the whole truth, and you're never going to know because they're never going to let anyone in to properly investigate everything. I mean, there is zero question that Hamas have committed rapes. They commit atrocities. They're terrorists. Israel's done it too. It's what happens in wars. It only stops happening, and it doesn't entirely stop happening. It only stops happening to the nth degree when you get highly advanced technocratic armies like in the United States. And even then, it still happens. It just doesn't happen to the same extent. It's war. This is what happens in war. If you don't want any rapes in wars, don't do wars. If you do go to war, that's what's going to happen, right? It shouldn't be the main story. The main story should be that, well, Hamas are evil terrorists. It should have been wiped off the face of the earth. And Israel is run by bloodthirsty morons. Like, that's the story. How many rapes happened in between is not the issue. And it was a weird interview when you actually listen to it. A very weird interview because, I mean, this guy like Hamish McDonald, kind of a leftist guy, like he's ABC. You could tell she went on because it was going to be friendly. But he kind of came out with that at the end. And if you listen to how he phrased it, he says, oh, we've got a question from a client. Like, come on, man. I bet you any money that's going to be one of a certain group of people. Yeah, I think the whole thing is just, it's indicative of a deeper problem we have in Australia, a much deeper problem than just people saying stupid shit. It's why they're saying it and why they're there. Wattle Crown says, when is our Geist coming to save the neo-reactionary right wing in Australia? It's so depressing reading political commentary from Oz in the 30s and comparing it today. We're a long way off, dude. I've said this before. Like, we're a really long way off getting anything fixed, I think. Because what you just said is exactly what I just said about the toxic egalitarianism, where you go from like John Curtin to Grace Tame in a century, right? How do you go from these remarkable people, these incredibly intelligent, patriotic, devoted people who love their countries and wanted the best for it, to just what Kim Beazley described in one of the best ever Kim Beazley quotes, the dregs of the middle class. Which if anyone finds that quote, it's absolutely spectacular. I saw it for the first time the other day. Beazley basically said, like, at the beginning of Australian political history, you had the cream of the working class running the Labor Party, to now you have, he called them the dregs of the middle class doing it. And it's the most truest thing I've ever seen. It's absolutely true. Yeah. Rangry Ranger says, totally not on topic, but you have to give props to Trump, his ability to double speak his goat tier. Yeah, I mean, that's part of his charm. Like, we should be doing that. Like, Albanese should be doing that as well. It said he doesn't. Like, he just kind of says nonsense, and guys like Tony Burke say, oh, yeah, we're going to review the guy's visa. Come on. Steely Dan enjoys says, Sir Joe did nothing wrong. We can resurrect him with AI as eternal premier. It's not a bad idea. Eternal prime minister. Look, I'm completely AI pilled. I want the whole country to be run with it. I think we could, over time, just get rid of these guys and just replace them with robots. I think that's what the future looks like. Not a popular view, but it's certainly mine. I saw a really funny Trump video just before I came on where he's hugging the B-2 bomber model. Have you seen that? He's in the middle of the press conference. And he says, pass me that model. It's beautiful. I love it. Yeah, look, be interesting to see how the war goes. I have no idea. Like, I've spent a week being pretty busy, so I didn't get to monitor the situation as much as I would have liked to, but it's hard to say how it's going to go. If any of you are strategic analysts and military experts in the chat, please tell me. Conquer the World says, what happened with Grace Tame and Brittany Higgins? Dude, I know. It's a really funny story, and I actually think I can tell it because, one, it is absolutely true, and so I know no one's going to sue me over it. And two, I think at some point it was reported, and it is just such a funny story. And again, goes to the point about why are we letting these people into public life at all? So the story goes that 8%, yeah. Do you remember when Brittany and Grace both did the press club address? Remember that? If you might not, it was a few years ago. I think it was like in the COVID epoch. So they both went to the press club and gave an address. The story goes, like, I did not know that this was a thing, but I'm told that this is 100% a thing that these people actually do. Grace has a counselor who comes with her to events. So this is like a specialist psychologist whose job is to he's like a specialist for women, what do they call them? Victim survivors. So they go with victim survivors for public speaking events and make sure they're okay for the public speaking events. It's like the political equivalent of one of those intimacy coordinators, like one of these DEI jobs that shouldn't exist. Anyway, there's not many of these people in Australia. And Grace had one that she brought with her everywhere. So apparently, before the event, Brittany decided that she needed one She needed one too, because there's only one of these guys. Like Brittany booked him or her or whoever it was, so they were double booked. So they had this argument over who got the counselor for the event, and that was why their relationship broke down, and that's why they've never appeared since. They don't do anything together. I was just blown away that such a job even existed. Like in Australia, that's the kind of job that the upskirt guy could do. They'd give him that job. They clearly don't care. A tamer, Dr. Tradcon says. Yeah. So yeah, that was the beginning of the end for them. There's other bullshit stories like about them not liking each other. But yeah, that was the one I know was 100% true that started the whole thing. Yeah. Dr. Tradcon also adds an interesting resource that went under the radar about 15 years back is Kenneth Minogue's A Servile Mind, How Democracy Erodes the Moral Life. It was prescient and is intellectual fuel for Restore. Absolutely. That's a really good one. And Lee Kuan Yew Respecter is in there too. He's talking about Fourth World is another one. We might do a book club or something. You know what I have been thinking about doing? Just because I'm getting so black-pilled about politics. And like you guys saw in the last stream, like Brian's really black-pilled about politics right now. And we kind of both of us being black-pilled. So I need something to improve my mood. Is just doing like pop culture stream of consciousness, but just movies and books and video games and which none of which are good anymore. Did anyone watch the Oscars? I didn't watch it, but it's just nothing good. It's just nothing interesting at all. No, we're not doing the Mein Kampf book club. By some miracle, this has still not been banned from YouTube. It's still on YouTube. If you guys can watch it whenever you want. Tim Humphreys just said, I was going to save this for when Brian got here, but as Tim says, Crikey ran an article about Brian. Yes, him and Nathan, who I think is also in the chat, broke their crikey cherry today because they dared to start a campaign organization and are campaigning like quite successfully, I might add. So that's all they did. You guys might notice the numbers are a bit down tonight. That's because I've been locked out of X ads for some reason, which I don't think is related to content. I think it's related to me credit card expiring. But we're raw dogging it tonight, guys. This is just our organic numbers. Green Goblin asks my thoughts on something on Disney Plus. I don't have Disney Plus, but speaking of Disney, we did come up with a funny idea. A funny thing we're going to do. There's that day that they have, the Star Wars Day. It's like International Star Wars Day or something. It's May 4th, as in like May the 4th be with you or something. So we're going to try and get enough people openly using the term Star Wars people. Like we want to get a big name. We want to get like maybe like someone from Reform in the UK or a senior like US guy. We want to get someone using Star Wars people in the lead up to that so that Disney comes out and condemns it. Which it doesn't serve any like actual political campaign purpose. It would just be funny. It would just be a funny thing because we say it so often and nothing bad has happened on X, nothing bad has happened on YouTube, that we think we've discovered the secret, the secret slur that we can use, right? They can't shut it down, So yeah, like whatever you can do in whatever context. And I know some of you are big slur guys and you're always getting banned from things on Twitter, but just between now and May, just cool it with the remarks and start doing Star Wars people instead, that on every occasion, so we can get it out there, so that we can. I just want to see Disney say we condemn people saying. I just want to see him say it. Just think it'd be funny. a lot of my career in political campaigning has just things that I thought would be funny to have people say like that. If you know, like your deep McGowan law, there was that time I spent months doing the Heightgate story in New South Wales and telling everyone that Chris Minns was short. I just wanted to see him deny it. That was it. There was no political agenda, and I wasn't even working for the Liberals at the time. It just was enormously funny to me, to the idea that he would have to respond to this campaign on Twitter that was claiming he was lying about his height. To me, was just hilarious. And so this is my new like little laugh I'm going to have for the year, is I just want a senior Disney executive to come out and say, oh yeah, we condemn people referring to POCs and migrants as Star Wars people. Ben says we're going to have Gloop shit toe on a $5 note before long. Hey, yeah, what about the getting rid of Winston Churchill off the $5 note? That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And like they're replacing him with like an animal or something. Iron Deficiency Anima says McGowan Sydney dining Rex. That's a good question, man. A lot of it's slop. I do enjoy a lot of Sydney slop. You know, my like secret thing I like the most in Sydney is Mullatung. The proper Chinese Communist Party owned and approved Mullatung, the one that's like I think down the bottom of George Street. I love that shit. I love the smell of it. I love like putting lamb's brains in my soup. I love how you mysteriously never get sick from it. Like every time I've ever eaten it, I've been like, for sure, there's no way I can put like a fistful of chicken hearts in a soup and that have been sitting in a Bain Marie all day and not get sick, but you never do. Like, I don't know what kind of mysterious Chinese technology that place uses. So Mullatung is definitely one. I'm trying to remember the name of the good sushi that's up in Hemisphere. Is Sushi Tay or Sushi E? I think it's Sushi E. That's probably my favorite sushi. My favorite place to just eat and drink chilled out is Bar Topper it's like a little town. It's like when you go to Ivy, it's underneath the stairs up into Ivy, and it's this little tiny Spanish place. They do $5 Negronis. That's my favorite place to eat. Yeah. Conquer the World says one battle after another wasn't as bad as people carry on about. Yeah, I don't know. So I watched it a second time, and I changed. Like I watched it the first time, and I thought actually this is kind of a lot more right wing than I thought it was, than people kind of think it was. And I watched it the second time, and I kind of thought, nah, maybe not. Like, I mean, the source material was very explicitly neither left wing or right wing, and it was kind of a humorous condemnation of both sides. I really feel like they lost a bit of that in this adaptation. Steely Dan Joy says it was boring whenever Leo wasn't on camera. 100% right. That was like that whole movie suffered from. It wasn't terrible. I think I preferred it way more to Sinners than Sinners. But Sinners sucked. Like, it was the same. Remember that year when they were like nominating what's the one? The fucking Wakanda one. Black Panther. Remember when Black Panther was getting nominations? Like, we're all expected to believe that was some kind of work of high art. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I've said this on the show before. I'm one of the least racist people in the right about African Americans. I have deep appreciation for their works of art. But some of this stuff, I just think, cheapens the whole idea of black artistic excellence. Like, do we really all have to just agree that, like, what wouldn't have even been a particularly good, like, Monster of the Week episode of Buffy is high art just because all the right black people were in it? Like, it was not that good. It just wasn't. If you were going to nominate a genre film this year, they should have nominated Weapons. That was legitimately good. I enjoyed that. Kenophile Nationalist says, can we get a definition of which groups constitute Star Wars people? No, that's the whole. So if we do that, right, then it'll be racist. Then it'll be hate speech. We're getting in a lot of trouble if we define it. So it has to be undefined. It has to just be whatever Star Wars people you believe in your heart, and you can't tell anyone. You can't kind of put brackets around it. You can't kind of make a definition, because the definition will be hate speech. For so long as like Star Wars people could mean anything. And like Brian made a really good point last week, because like we were talking about a white guy that just had a Star Wars person name. Like, so Star Wars people even applies to white guys with dumb names, right? Or like weird looking people, you know? I mean, in many ways, I'm a Star Wars person, you know? It can just be anyone. And we have to be like that. If one of you guys does like a Wikipedia page for Star Wars people, you'll fuck it. Don't ruin this for me. Yeah, the true Star Wars people are the friends we made along the way. Yeah, Marley is a Star Wars person. Yeah. Elon sleaze back. No, yeah. Bully Bullput says I'm a bigger Adam Driver. I'm a slightly more handsome Matt Barry. He did the voiceover on the Oscars, I noticed, where for the like 5 seconds of it I turned on. Yeah, it was. Yeah, movies suck nowadays. I saw something. I've been watching a lot of like movie criticism on YouTube this weekend because it I find it very soothing, and the lack of nicotine has had my fucking blood pressure through the roof. So in between like 4-hour meditation sessions, I just watch cinema interviews on YouTube. And I saw this guy say something really interesting that I wish I could find the link, but I scroll through things so fast I lose them. He said, if you go back to like the golden age of cinema, so like classic Westerns, Star Wars, all the great movies that come out in the 1970s and early 1980s, right? Thematically, every blockbuster has this one thing in common, which is they're all about individuals who overcome collectives. It's like one man standing against the world, you know, it's like the Faustian spirit across all these classic movies. And then there is this like noticeable moment, and once you know this, you can't unsee it, that at some point in the early 21st century, they flip that completely on its head in blockbusters. And it's no longer about an individual against the world. It's about a group of people who come together to overcome an individual, which is really interesting. And like the biggest offenders for this are the fucking sloppy Marvel movies, right? Every single one of them follows that template. Like even the ones that don't have to, they're always about a bunch of plucky outsiders learning to put aside their differences and fighting against one guy. You know, it's fascinating when you think about it. Like, I was perturbed about that actually. There's very few good movies that come out nowadays. Like I'd say every year I can probably count on literally like one hand how many movies would come out that I enjoyed. And like for the last maybe 5 or 6 years, it's like just Robert Eggers movies. So there's like one guy now making good movies, which is terrifying. Like there used to be great movies every single week. My first ever job was I worked in a cinema. This was this was the year that Lord of the Rings came out, the year I think the first Harry Potter came out. Like it was like one of the biggest years for movies, I think, in decades that year. It would have been like 2002, 2003. And every single week at that cinema, there was a new movie coming out that would pack out. And now, Ben says, didn't you like Blade Runner 2049? Yeah, I love Blade Runner 2049. I didn't even realize it flopped until recently. Yeah, Dr. Tradcon says, rediscover the 70s. One good thing about services like Tubi is digging around for those 70s films you never got to see. 100%. Tubi is really good for it. I remember like when the social media ban was coming in, we were encouraging everyone to get VPNs. I mean, now with easy and cheap VPNs, and thanks to Stripe, which, like, if you're on X, if you're monetized on X, if you have a Substack, you have a Stripe account, you can easily access US funds, which means from a VPN, you can very easily set up US accounts, and the service is worth getting. And the only thing I pay for apart from Crunchyroll is Criterion Collection, because it's that good. Like, there's always something to watch on it. See what I mean? How much nicer is this than talking about politics? This is infinitely nicer. Doesn't spike your cortisol. And that's part of my problem with a lot of the guys on YouTube who talk about movies. Like, it is cortisol spiking. They get on there I think I was watching the Critical Drinker guy. And he's huge. Like, he's got the biggest channel, but every single video is like, it's so awful. Like, in his Scottish accent, obviously, like, everything's so awful. Like, if it was me, I just wouldn't talk about the bad movies. I just pretend they don't exist. Like, I don't see them. Like, I haven't watched. The last time I saw a Marvel movie, I think, was the Black Widow one, which I actually kind of liked, and then I saw the next one, which I also kind of liked, because I like Florence Pugh. For the simple reason she sells the illusion of a woman who can do backflips and like ninja kicks and shit. She's got that kind of like swimmer's frame, but like you can't really. The rest of them don't really sell it. But yeah, I just wouldn't talk about the bad ones. I'd watch a movie for like 5 minutes and I'd turn it off and I'd never think about it again. And just, literally Cromwell says, ignoring slop is the way. You have to ignore it. I can't imagine watching a bad movie, wasting my life on it, or watching a bad TV series. I give things chances sometimes. Like the last season of True Detective, because I love True Detective. I can even apologize for the third season of True Detective, but I started watching that fourth one, the one where they're in Alaska, and like 15 minutes, like, nope. If I see an African in a period thing on BBC, I turn it off. I just don't watch it. Like, unless they can explain why they're there. Unless it's like Morgan Freeman in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and there's a reason why he's there. I won't watch it. I just turn it off. I'm not gonna get stressed out about it. Fleener's finally here because he finished gooning to pool chess. What are we talking about? We're talking about movies now because politics is too depressing. It's just way too depressing to get into. Steely Dan Enjoyer says he's a True Detective Season 2 fan. 100%. True Detective Season 2 is a sublime masterpiece. I even thought that before Mystery House Press got onto it. Conquer the World says it's why Batman always holds up as the best superhero, because he is always one man against the world, except increasingly, except maybe in the Nolan movies, but they don't do that with him anymore now. Now he's got to rely on someone. Now he's got to have friends. Now he's got to have a team behind him. He's got to have like allies. They can't do the idea of a movie just about one guy anymore, right? I rewatched all the like Clint Eastwood westerns recently. It's like Fistful of Dollars, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and I mean, those are like the epitome of it. There's actually a really good documentary that just came out about Sergio Leone, the Italian who created America, which is worth a watch, which has interviews with all those guys. Skull says Jess Wilson diving into a pool has been the biggest release in Oz cinema this decade. Yeah. I just can't believe that it's doing numbers too. Like, it's really doing numbers. The amazing thing about African inserts in our history is they can't even act English. Isn't acting supposed to be their expertise? Yeah, and this is why I just don't like British television, full stop. I find very little of it possible to watch anymore. I hate how like people are fat in everything now. You guys notice this? I tried to watch was it the one about the Day of the Jackal? They did the Day of the Jackal remake, and the first couple of episodes I thought it was pretty cool. But how come the cop's fat? Like, we got to believe that she can run around and she can, like, a real woman that size could not run upstairs to find an assassin. Like, it just takes you out of the thing. What happened to when people in movies were fit? You know, I was watching The Hitcher the other day, which is a classic I think came out in 1980. It's described by Christopher Nolan as one of his favorite movies, weirdly. It's got Rutger Hauer in it as the titular Hitcher. And he did like all his own stunts in that movie. Like before there was Tom Cruise. Like he was just doing all these crazy driving stunts, like jumping out of cars and things. That was worth a watch. Matt B says Begonia was all right. Good original premise. I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to get around to it though. I associate Emma Stone with degenerate slop ever since that Poor Things came out. So, yeah, I mean, this is how bad Australia is right now. No one's even jumping in with any political news. It's just movie wrecks now. Like, no one cares anymore. I don't know. What else we got? Am I getting glazed? Oh, we got some new subs. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Conquer the World says, did you watch Eddington? No, I don't like that kind of shit. I don't like weird, gross shit. Like maybe once upon a time, like I'd watch deliberately disturbing shows. Not now. You stop doing it when you get old. You don't even have to have kids to stop doing it. It's just at some point in your life, you know, I've seen enough fucked up shit. I've been around enough fucked up people to not have to watch it. So yeah, as soon as I heard about like the gross scenes in that, I was like, nah, I'm not going to watch that. Sebastian says, what did you think of the Evangelion rebuilds? I liked them. I really loved them. I don't get why the hate for them. I even like Mari. I'm a Mari stan. I liked every bit of it. I liked that Rey got an actual arc in the third one. I liked Shinkanami, Oscar. I liked Shinji growing balls. I thought that was the kind of the whole point of the series is that he's doomed to have to repeat the events leading up to the fourth impact over and over and over again until he gets it right. I thought it was always obvious that that was what it was about. And so you would have to at some point find a nice conclusion to it, and I hope that's what they do in the sequels as well. But yeah, Ben says he doesn't like this chilled out. John, dude, I gotta be chilled out, man. You have no idea. Like my hands have only just stopped shaking because I'm finally sucking on this spare vape I had. Matthew Clark says, did you see the Predator movie? I did watch a little bit of it, but that was one of those movies that was so bad. Like I got 10 minutes in and I was like, nope. Turn that off. Didn't want to watch it. Steely Dan says hearing this opinion of the rebuilds means I am voting Greens. No, they were good. They looked good. They were fun. I don't understand why people didn't like them. I really enjoyed them. I think maybe there didn't need to be 4 of them. I think if they had been, and I wonder the extent to which they ever planned for there to be 4 of them. And maybe I think there might have been delays. And the first one kind of seems phoned in. I don't think the first one needed to exist, but yeah, the rest of them I really enjoyed. Needs Less is not a Mari fan. What was there not to like about Mari? She was fun. Yeah. The original series was great. The original series was perfect, but it's cool that they kept making them. And I'm glad they're making another one. They should just keep making them. They should do Evangelion every year. Yeah, it was great. I only just watched it in the English dub recently because speaking of things that spike my cortisol, which I'm getting like fucking cold posts for about using that term on Twitter. Fuck you guys. It was when I downloaded the rebuilds on Prime, and the translations are just unwatchable. They're completely unwatchable. Like I watch enough anime. Like I have a very rudimentary grasp of Japanese, enough to know that the shit that's on the screen in the Prime subtitles is not what they're actually saying. It's so bad. I bought like a moron. This is the dumbest $25 I spent my entire life. I bought the Chainsaw Man Rezark when it came out, thinking, cool, I can finally watch it. I wanted to watch it with subtitles because the dub on that sucks. Unwatchable. Like the first 5 minutes of the movie, they're all talking. There's no subtitles at all. Like they're just not bothering to translate it. It's just phoned in by AI or something. So mad about that. Yeah. What else? Matthew Clark says, any anime on your radar? Yeah, I'm watching. I think Jujutsu Kaisen's on now, which I'm losing interest in. Frieren just finished, which is sublime and excellent. Finally trying to watch Attack on Titan, but I'm not. I find that hard to get into. I don't know why. I'm just not that invested in it. Conquer the World says, what are your thoughts on A24 Neon movies? Like, it was a cool concept at the beginning, but they're just all the same now. Like, every single one. It's like, oh, it's a spooky house with, you know, a ghost that's actually my inherited trauma from my mother. Like, I don't know. I can't. I mean, like, I think they did the Eggers films, which is cool, but nothing really stands out for me. What was the coolest movie I saw recently was the Iron Lung, which weirdly, I don't know why this was the case, but actually got a cinema release down here in Hobart. So I went and saw Iron Lung in a completely empty gold class cinema on my own. And it goes for like 2.5 hours. It is, I mean, good on them for making a movie on such a low budget about a very obscure independent video game. But it didn't have to be 2.5 hours. I think there was bits of it they could have pulled. But I think that's probably my favorite movie this year. This is one I probably enjoyed the most. Yeah. Tell Trump to stop sending billions to Israel and send it to Japan instead so we can get an Evangelion movie every 6 months. There's something weird with Evangelion rights, though. I think they're like all over the shop because like I'm constantly seeing on Twitter like new weird Evangelion ads. Like I saw one the other day, like it was like an Evangelion ad, like it was like for Norton antivirus, but it was like all the cast of Evangelion was in it. Like they sell the rights to it for absolute anything. Wattle Crown says Amazon Prime's Invincible is A+ slop. Yeah, I liked that actually, but I haven't watched it in a while because I cracked the shits with Amazon Prime over the subtitle thing. I cancelled my sub. Pete says New Zealand pulled out of the World Health Organization. Will Australia follow? Thanks, Pete. Bringing us back to politics. The guys are going to start getting into video games soon. No, Australia will absolutely not follow. Everything starts to make sense about Australian politics once you realize that all these politicians and all the hangers-on and all the staffers and all the senior bureaucrats live in constant fear that they will not be able to get good jobs when they leave. And they're going to have to go be little people again. Maybe they'll have to work in an office. Maybe they'll have to become an entrepreneur or something. So they will never get Australia out of any of these global bodies because in their minds, they think, yeah, that's where I'm going to go work because I can't work here anymore. My name's Mud. Needs Less says, why hasn't John played Nier Automata yet? Do you know why, man? This is like, I don't know, maybe this says something fucked up about me sexually, but I never play video games where I have to play a girl, ever. I just can't play them. I just can't get into them. Like, I'm sure I've missed some good ones in there, but like, it just doesn't appeal to me. Like, isn't the whole point of like playing a video game like the fantasy of being another person? And I don't want to be a girl, so that's why I haven't played it. Maybe I'll get around to it one day. It's the kind of thing I'd probably watch someone else play on YouTube. Yeah, Nitro Slytherin says another Master and Commander film would be great. No female speaking roles. Yeah, you just can't do that now in movies. Yeah, dude. In Wattle Crown, I've never played a female character in a game ever. Not once. I will not do it. I even stopped playing maining Soldier 47 in Overwatch when I found out he was gay. Yeah, I just want to do it. There's enough video games to play. Actually, there probably isn't. I mean, I can't talk. I was looking in my Steam folder the other day, and I have not played a new video game in like 2 years. Yeah. Iron Deficiency Anima says, John, Institute or Brotherhood and Fallout 4. Brotherhood, there's no argument, dude. Never. Yeah, Horizon Zero Dawn looks kind of cool, but I'm never going to play it. I think I might be getting my ability to play a lot of those games is going downhill as I get older. Like Buyback Capitals here, he says map games are all you need. He's right, man. Map games are all you need. I'm super into RimWorld right now. I'm obsessed with RimWorld. I play that a lot. It's my new Stellaris. I'm just going to sink 1,000 hours into. When Australia runs out of fuel, will you offer Abby Chatfield one of your 20 jerry cans? No, she should have an electric car. Yeah, I haven't really thought about Abby lately. She hasn't done much, and I've been trying to find new obsessions. I like the girl who got busted with the Globalize the Intifada t-shirt. She's my new favorite. She did an interview, actually. One of you guys put it in my feed today. Yeah, here it is. El LeBomb posted it to me. Her name's Bonnie. So they did an interview with her this week. It's on Tim Anderson. So, yeah, Tim Anderson posted it, that fucking terrorist. So if you go on to Tim Anderson's feed, it's on there. But she's like incredibly articulate and clearly quite intelligent. It was an interesting contrast because I woke up this morning and someone sent that to me, and then I listened to the Grace Tame interview, and I thought that's crazy because this girl sounds sane. She's probably not. I mean, I have no doubt that she's not sane. Like, she sounds sane and kind of convincing. She would make a great politician. Grace Tame sounds fucking insane and would not make a good politician. Which one will get foisted on us by the left? Yeah, her name's Bonnie Carter. Anyway, she seems cool. She's not on Twitter. If she ever gets on there, I'm going to simp for her relentlessly. Green Goblin says, Elliot Loney making too much fun of Abby and BF. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why people get so obsessed with them. Like, I think my method of mocking them is funnier. That I don't really mock them. I just keep aggressively simping for it. So I think that's funny. I think the guys who like make fun of them are not doing it very well, and I just don't think it works because it buys into the whole narrative that that some of us are pretty humorless and don't make good content, which unfortunately is actually true. Hannah Ferguson is who the left will force on us, says Matt B. Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. I mean, she's miserable. Like, I can't simp for that. Yeah. But none of these people really stand for anything except for just this, mystery meat progressivism that is just unreconstructed communism. And, as much as a lot of One Nation is a politics of grievance. I mean, these guys are just the politics of vengeance. So much of it is just pure revenge porn against men and against their dads. And, it's bizarre. It doesn't get them anywhere. It's not going to achieve anything. Yeah, I don't know what's next for the left. I mean, what's going to happen when everyone forgets about Palestine? Because Palestine's gone. Like, they're done. Like, what are they? Palestine's not coming back. It's going to live on as a meme, if anything. You guys remember Free Tibet? That was big when I was a kid. Who gives a fuck about Tibet now? Yeah. So when these guys don't have Palestine to rally around, I think they're doomed. What do they do at that point? Steely Dan Joy says Coney 2012. I mean, what people need to remember is all this stuff, like modern campaigning strategies, all flow. They're all downhill from Coney 2012. That's the moment everyone realizes, holy fuck, you can do this. People are fucking stupid. I remember at the time, I started working at Crosby Textor not long after that, and it caused like endless grief with dealing with Mark Textor, because if you read about the kind of technical foundation of Coney 2012, why it worked, what was going on with the data and behind the scenes, like the strain that comes out of it, one of the most effective campaigns in the digital age is it's exploiting the fact people are fucking dumb, particularly white women are the dumbest people in the audience, and you can exploit them to supercharge campaigns based on misinformation or just flimsy information or information that's very hard to verify. It's been used over and over again by the left. We use variations of it in the right. We exploit how dumb you all are. It's the foundation of modern campaigning. Tex used to hate that, and he refused to believe it. He constantly tried to debunk it because his whole thesis, and you couldn't really fault him for it because it was the thesis that had won us in the Liberals, like 5-6 elections at that point, was that actually collectively people are really smart, and collectively people make really smart decisions and they see through bullshit. And one of the saddest things, I mean, I think Tex is one of the most smartest people I ever met in my entire life, but he has been proved wrong. Like, in the contest of ideas and how to design campaigns and how to manipulate the public, the Coney method works. The Liberal method does not work anymore. Now, maybe Australians just got stupider. Maybe Australian IQs caught up on the downward curve to everyone else. Maybe there were some policy decisions about who we bring into the country in that time that might have affected it. But people are just fucking dumb, and you can convince millions of white progressive women to support a violent medieval terrorist organization that wants to wrap them in sackcloth and kick gays off bridges and run Sharia law. Like, you can convince them of that. I mean, you think about it, you can convince them of anything at that point. Like, if you can convince all these women, if you can convince Grace Tame, a woman whose very social narrative is being sexually assaulted, if you can convince her through digital collateral to put aside what her heart tells her and say that, yeah, Hamas did nothing wrong, what else can you convince people of? You know, and this is the part of the problem. No one really thinks like this. Like, but it's how I've always thought about these things. You know, that you shouldn't sit there and complain about the dumb campaigns that work. You should look at the dumb campaigns that work and dissect them and do them yourselves. Right? And this is an important, vital lesson for us on the right of politics. When you look at dumb white women waving the flag of a city-state that would like imprison them for their lifestyles, instead of going, that's bad, we should stop that, you should think, how can I brainwash people to that extent? You know, and this is one of the reasons the right in Australia has constantly lost, is because our guys just don't think like this. One of the argument I had in Liberal Party politics that was the moment that maybe decide I'm done, this is my last one, and it would turn out not to be my last one, I would do one more. But it came at the end of the 2016 election when we were all in a room together when the Mediscare texts were coming out. And Mediscare was going gangbusters, like organically. We were seeing it live in social media tracking. We knew this thing was going out. We knew that maybe a percentage of people thought it was horse shit and they were all voting for us, but it was so effective. It was so scarily effective. And Labor had just crossed the Rubicon on it. They said, yeah, fuck you. We can just lie. We're just going to send a message out and lie to everyone. And there were guys in that room. I think Malcolm Turnbull was on like a speaker call. saying that when we win, we were going to ban it, that we were going to send them to prison for it. And all the Liberals just nodding their heads saying, oh, yeah, this is beyond the pale. And I was the only person in that room saying, well, why don't we do it? Why don't we put out a message saying that Labor's going to increase fuel excise? Why don't we say that Labor's going to increase beer excise? Why don't we say that Labor's going to increase taxes? Like, why don't we fight fire with fire and just do our own? We had at the time, we had more money. We had more technical know-how. They didn't want a bar of it. I wasted 3 years of my life building out a free text message system that I think I've only ever used like twice since I left, because no one really cares about those things anymore. But the Libs just wouldn't have a bar of it. Here was an effective campaigning strategy that they didn't want to do because they didn't like it. Lee Kuan Yew respected said, yeah, they went from 100 positive policies to save Medicare. And you know why they did that? It worked. And it saved some of the furniture for them. And it got pretty close. Yeah, the right doesn't need to learn how to exploit people. I mean, most of these people hate us anyway, right? And the rest are stupid. You just exploit them to win so we can make a country better. There was a good place. Yeah, any thoughts on Dennis Richardson resigning from the Royal Commission? Philip Filton says, yeah, dude, that was a weird one, wasn't it? That was a really weird one. I mean, I think I posted the other day that, you know, as a consultant, I'd never heard of another consultant handing back a job because it paid too much for too little work. But that's exactly what he said. He said, oh, $5,000 a day is too much for this. Come on, man. Come on. There's no way. No one's ever said that. Ever. That was bizarre. And I don't believe it for 1 second. I reckon there'll be some bad shit that went on inside, and he knows there's probably a massive cover-up, right? And he knows that one of the things that they are desperate to not get into with this inquiry is the intelligence agencies themselves and reform of Australian national security, and they don't want to reveal what anyone involved in it will tell you is that there are just profound failures in our country is at massive risk because everyone involved is a fucking moron. Now, Richardson is a guy who administered it in what, you know, I mean, the official history of ASIO, the 3-volume official history of ASIO, which I think in my piece on the fallout from Bondi on Substack, I told everyone to read. You know, from the golden age of the agency, you know, a period where things were great. We had no terrorist attacks. We had no foreign spies. Everything was really good until like 2010, 2011, when things start going downhill. Around the time Dennis Richardson left. So, you know, if you're going to listen to one guy on Australian national security, and you want one guy in the room, it should be him. And for some reason, they don't want him in the room, or he doesn't want to be in the room, even though he's getting paid an obscene amount of money. Yes, so there's more to that. There's definitely more to that. And I mean, these guys are incredibly discreet. I mean, Richardson's never spoken out of turn about ASIO from his tenure. Who knows? But I do get the sense there's a lot of discontent there. They want to make it about Nazis and social cohesion and not being mean to Jews. They don't, none of which are important questions to Australia. Like, whether or not there is anti-Semitism is completely immaterial to the strategic security of Australia as a country. We've been incredibly anti-Semitic at points in our past. We did fine. So whilst it's nice to be nice, and I don't consider myself anti-Semitic, I know some of you do, but whilst it is nicer to be nice, the question of whether or not people are anti-Semitic is ultimately irrelevant, so long as you have a national security regime that can stop people from carrying out terrorist attacks. And a national security regime that can look at the intelligence and tell the difference between one of you nut jobs reading the Turner diaries and a guy buying guns and training with ISIS in the Philippines. So that's what matters. Now, right now, they can't tell that difference. Right now, the Australian Federal Police, an organisation that was founded, and I'll get to where the criticism of this statement comes in a second, an organisation that was founded to prevent terrorism. I know there's a story about it was founded because I think it was one of the old prime ministers had a tomato thrown at him or something. That's bullshit. That was where the Commonwealth Police were founded for close protection. The Australian Federal Police was created in the wake of the Hilton bombing and the litany of failures there. Hilton bombing, Tim Anderson, the guy just talking about the tweet back there, he was the guy who did it. He was actually the guy who did the Hilton bombing. If you want to know how bad the security is in Australia, the man who carried out the first terrorist attack in Australia on behalf of Hindu nationalists, he now just tweets. He's got a job. He's got tenure at the University of Sydney. The guy should have been in prison. That guy should be in a black site. No, not in Australia. He just wanders around. He probably hangs out with the underskirt guy. But, that's why the Australian Federal Police were created, was to target terrorism. Instead, we pick up the newspaper and we find out that they've got a special hate squad. The AFP hate squad is on the case. They're making sure you're not hating too hard. Because hate leads to terrorism or something. No, terrorism leads to terrorism. And you stop it by stopping terrorists. And if ordinary people want to hate, well, ordinary people have a right to hate, I'm afraid. That's just the way things go. This is how it works. This is how societies work. You cannot, there are not enough cops. There are not enough resources in the world to police everyone who is being hateful. So you have to be responsible and manage those resources to track down the people who are going to do terrorist attacks. And that is what that anti-Semitism inquiry, which is a bullshit name, it should be called an inquiry into intelligence failures at the Bondi terrorist attack. But that's what that should be about. It shouldn't be about fucking hate speech. Who cares? Seafaring Yuppie says John McGoyan. Yeah, I am that's a good one. I know. That whole thing just fucking annoys me. I mean, and you think it was bad before when we were just worried about these fucking morons, like the fucking Star Wars Bondi people. I don't know if you guys saw, this is an interesting piece of niche news. If you're a ham radio enthusiast, a new numbers station started last week somewhere in Central Europe. Broadcasting a string of Arabic numbers in a usual template for a one-time pad. Sorry, correction, not Arabic numbers, Persian numbers. And the theory being that Iran is standing up sleeper cells. Do you know where we know 100% there are Iranian sleeper cells, by the way? Australia, because they were booking fire bombings here. Because they did that, and we kicked out the ambassador, but there hasn't been anyone else. They have not arrested anyone else for that. Come on, seriously? So I just don't fucking care. Check out back. I revisit my initial point at the beginning of the stream. Your government just fucking hates you. Because even incompetent people, and there have been plenty of incompetent governments throughout history. There have been periods in the United States where people with a lot of incompetence. But when you have even the most incompetent patriot will still fight to protect you. And this is the only thing that gives me comfort about Pauline Hanson in her being a complete retard and likely extremely incompetent, is I think we can have some comfort with Hanson that on the most important things, our national security and our economy, I just pray that she's willing to kind of do some, as Mark Anderson said, doesn't exist this week, introspection, and say, I am retarded and I need smart people to do national security and I need smart people to do the economy. That's like my nightly prayer for Pauline Hanson. I don't care if Pauline Hanson destroys Australia's national energy market, or she, blocks a bunch of renewables projects, or if she fucking bans burqas, or I don't even care if she doesn't fix my vape problem, But she has 2 jobs post 2028, because things are going to start to get hairy now. They're going to get more hairy over the next 2 years. 2028, it's going to be really bad, which is national security and the Australian economy. And she can't do it. No one in her cabinet can do it. I wouldn't let even Barnaby Joyce, who's been around for yonks, I wouldn't let any of them touch it. They just need to go out and get outside help. Like, get some fucking guys with capital in their name from FinTwit. Get Dennis Richardson back. Just he's clearly around. His brain's working. Just get some old guys back. Matt B says people need to accept they have overpromised and will underdeliver. Oh yeah, I don't think that there's any issue with that amongst the voter base for One Nation. I don't think anyone's sitting there going, "Oh, I'm really disappointed that they're retarded." Like, I think it's baked in that everyone who has switched their vote to Pauline Hanson is doing so in the knowledge that she is retarded, and they want her to be retarded, right? And I think that's, I don't think the Liberals or Labor or the idiot Nationals, no one has clocked this part of the voter psychology, which is not the first time we've seen it around the globe. We've seen it before in Brexit, and it was what informed the election of Donald Trump in 2016. It is not enough for the voters to kick out Anthony Albanese or to give the Liberals the bloody nose. It has to be that they have to bury them under a pile of utter shame and show their complete contempt. It's not good enough for someone else to win. They have to lose. If a man like Andrew Hastie, who, is not to everyone's liking, is a dumb civnat or whatever, were he to win, it doesn't achieve that because he's still from the same establishment. Losing to Andrew Hastie, Anthony Albanese and his cabinet could sit there on Sky News and shrug their shoulders and say, "Oh, you win some, you lose some. We wish you all the best." That's not what the public wants. It's not what 25 to 30% of the public want. They want to see them cry and they want to see them hurt. Like Swing State just said, they want to see complete humiliation. Anthony Albanese cannot stand on a podium in 2028 and wish Pauline Hanson the best. He can't, right? He can't play the old games anymore. They can't hold their heads up. Losing to Pauline Hanson is the single worst thing that can ever happen to these people. And that's why a growing number of the public want it. Used to be a time when people fucked up this badly. You just put them in stocks and throw vegetables at him. I reckon Labor would prefer that. I honestly think, I tell you guys a prediction, like a lot of my predictions have come true over the last couple of years, but I don't think Anthony Albanese is going to go to the 2028 election. I think he's going to walk and he's going to give it to some other dribbler. I think he's going to figure it out. You do not want to be the man who lost to Pauline Hanson. You don't even want to be the guy that lost 30% to Pauline Hanson. Either one is terrible for him. Now, he didn't get his voice. He didn't get his legacy building. But, I mean, if he goes now, at least he's still got, fond memories. At least he's still a doyen of the Labor Party. But if he goes after 2028 and it's bad, he's done. And he's a schizo apparently in private. So I could actually see like an Anthony Albanese Latham arc. Like when Latham left, like Latham just goes, "Fuck these guys." I can see Albo doing that. If he loses in 2028, I can see him just saying, "Fuck the ILP." Green Goblin says, "John, any truth Tim Wilson will be leader for 2028?" I know that the moderates are pushing it, but he says he does theoretically have the numbers. The question will be what happens with Angus's polling numbers, right? Because Wilson won't be able to say that he's going to do a better job. He won't. All Wilson can say is that he can win different seats. So you wait, you mark my words, in the next few months, you're going to see a series of polls coming out of Goldstein and Kooyong and Wentworth and what's the Manly, the northern one. All those moderate seats that they want back, you're going to start to see very expensive, very good polls done in them and leaked, probably around the time of the news polls, to say that, oh yeah, Angus is doing well on top level. Yeah, Warringah, sorry. Angus is doing well on top level primary. Angus is doing well amongst, self-hating Indian international students and whatever, but he's not doing well in these moderate seats. And Wilson and the moderates, even it might not even be Wilson. There's heaps of these guys. There's so many of these like dribblers out there. They'll say, well, it doesn't matter if we do well on top line primary. We need to do well in these seats, so let's give it to a mod. That'll be their play. It's interesting, and I know some of you liberal exiles still hold out hope, don't want to hear it, but Wilson's actually right. Like, if I was working for the Liberals and my job was to save the furniture, prevent the country going to shit, I would be saying cut the Conservatives loose, cut the Nationals loose. We need to focus on our moderate inner city strongholds because it's easier to win back from that base than it is from the atomized base, and easier to do if we don't have to worry about the Nationals. If it was me, I would have taken, like, Little Proud going was fantastic. I would have said, good, we don't want him back, right? I would have told Angus and Hasty, put up or shut up, forced them out the door, forced as many of the right to leave to One Nation as possible, make their lives miserable, and then just aim for those seats. And one of the structural reasons to do that is that in the branches, the only money and manpower is moderate. The moderates have got the YLs, the moderates have got bullshit women's council, they had that fucking Hillman's network nonsense, right? They've got bodies that they can deliver and people donate them cash. The right has people who are too stupid to join One Nation. Like, that's all they've got. So, like, if ideology didn't matter and they were just paying me, that's what I would say. Make Wilson leader, campaign in Kooyong and Goldstein, whatever. Because it's too late for the rest of them. We got What's News in chat. He says Pauline Hanson ain't going to do shit if she gets in. She's a Civ-Nat Zionist in nationalist clothing. Also, hello, John. Hello, dude. Well, what did you expect? Like, everything you just said is true, but what did you think was going to happen? We've got a long ways to go before we even get up to, like, the Rupert Lowe stage. You should think of Pauline Hanson, even now, like, even though she's been around for like 30 years, she is like iteration 1. This is the first go. We'll see what happens. It is also tiresome. That's why we just talked about movies for the middle half of the show. Yeah. Because everyone was pissed. Sorry, I'm just trying to find out where I got like Nathan trying to come on the show and I didn't even see. Hold on, I gotta send a message. Yeah, jump on. This has actually been really good for my nicotine withdrawals. I almost completely forgot about them for the entirety of this show. So thank you, guys. What's interesting is we still do like pretty good numbers when there's no promo, which is interesting. Mods have the time and money to play factional politics. Yeah, plus it's all they really do, and it's their whole reason for being. They're good at it. Look, I think one of the earlier podcasts I did was I went on John Lawson's show, which is great, by the way, and you should support John and his National Observer. And we talked about Slienko Abancic, who is a famous figure, a really important figure in nationalist politics inside the Liberal Party, and one of the only ones really worth talking about. But it just kind of put the lie. It's like this lie that gets repeated ad nauseum, like on Sky News and shit about the mods. It's their party, right? This bullshit about you hear like Peter Credlin and all the other fucking After Dark losers ranting on about that somehow the mods are stealing the Liberals from Conservatives is bullshit. We stole it off them. We started stealing it in 1976. They only the Conservative movement inside the Liberals, the right-wing movement inside the Liberals, authentically, reasonably nationalist, Catholic, a lot of fucking Opies and whatever in there. They only held control for 4 years between, depending on who you ask, about 2005-6 until 2008-9. That was it. 30 years of street fighting and stabbing in the back and stacking and bullshit. And they held control of the Liberals for that period. They lost an election in a landslide in that time. They lost to Morris Yemmer. They lost in the first election where everyone knew that Eddie Obeid was a crook. They lost in an election where Sydney was running out of water. And they lost where they won one seat, which they got off a dead man by 68 votes. That was 2007. That was the Rights year. That was David Clark's year. That was my year. I was there then. To my credit, I was the campaign manager of that one seat that we won by 68 votes. That's how I roll. 51% is 1% wasted effort. But that was all the right achieved in the Liberals. Like, what was the point? That's what none of these people could answer the whole time. Like, what was the point of all that? The Liberals, the right of the Liberals should have quit then. They all should have quit then. That next year, when, after the embarrassment of the 2007 election, I know everyone fucking hates him, but someone I respect a lot, that I respect a great deal, even though I don't personally like him and I don't agree with his politics, is I have nothing but respect for Alex Hawke. Because Alex Hawke looked at that situation, at the disaster of the 2007 New South Wales election, the disaster of the 2007 federal election, and he said, yeah, we're doing something different, guys. And we're not going to be strapping on fucking hair shirts and whipping ourselves, and we're not going to keep talking about the Pope all day, and we're going to be reasonably normal and try to attract normal people. We're going to call ourselves the center right. And Alex won. Alex could sit down with the moderates. They could do deals together. My guys were hitting themselves with whips and wearing hair shirts, talking about weird shit and losing. This is the constant embarrassing losing. Like, it's a wonder there aren't even more abortions in New South Wales. Like, it's a miracle that they didn't lose even harder on abortions. It's a miracle that they don't have, like Canadian-style euthanasia laws. It's all because, by the way, of the Labor right. Like, every hand on the damn wall of progressive bullshit in New South Wales was from Labor right. Because the Liberal right were just that useless and embarrassing. And this is where they are now. Like, this is for me, it's like the origin of total Liberal death, right? Everyone should have quit then. If you were a right winger, you had no business being there. You never had any business being there. It was their party. It was a party of effete, gay accountants and bush lawyers and guys who read, Ayn Rand and Reaganism and all that horse shit, right? That was the Liberal Party. It wasn't for nationalists. It wasn't for Christians. It was never the party. Yeah. And that's how we end up where we are today. Jaden CJ Wilson says, are you familiar with Nick Land, and have you seen his framing lately, similar to Michael E. Jones, who claims it's currently a Catholic Islamic alliance versus a Protestant Zionist alliance in America? Yeah, I have seen a lot of that shit. I think Land's getting sledged pretty hard recently by groypers and things. I've been a big Land fan for years. I mean, all the way back to like Sailor and Fisher and CCRU. Like, I've read most of that stuff. I mean, what he's trying to do at the moment is he never really talked about Jews that much in the past. Nor did Yavin, really. This wasn't something that was massively on their radar. But he has always had this kind of like central thesis around like this kind of Whig, what he calls Whig progressivism, that he says comes out of the Protestant Puritan tradition. And so he's always thought, and this is like something that I think Yavin receives down the track, he's always thought that is patient X for the woke, the woke city state that we live in. And so now he's kind of scrambling to fit Zionists into that frame. And yeah, I don't know how successful it's going to be. David D mentioned that Yavin put up a picture hugging Alex Soros thing. Yeah, apparently he cried. He cried on a daybed or something. I don't know. I laughed because like I thought that was something I would probably do. Who said it was cringe? Dropping more cringe law, John. It's not cringe law. It's just the law. Right? Yeah, it's cringe, but how do you think it happened? Yeah. There's no good law in the Liberals. There's no like, I mean, there was cool stuff that Howard did. Like the Howard administration was cool. You know, the glory days of Max Moore Wilton, Max the Axe, you know, the staffers who actually did things, you know. Some of that's cool, but it was few and far between. Yeah. Yeah, good. Law is good. We're getting a consensus on law being gem, not coal. Yeah, we're getting some total Howard deaths in there. What do I think ruined it? There's like a baseline of quality that you had to maintain through the pre-selection process. Through the party itself, there was just like you could have a lot of chaff, but you needed a little bit of wheat to keep it going. And when that balance became disrupted, which is a whole host of reasons for, I mean, the economy being one of them. I mean, a lot of it, not a lot of it, but like there's to an extent of it, it wasn't necessarily their fault in that for a generation, for the first few generations of Australian politics, and this doesn't just apply to the Liberals, but you could kind of have these careers in finance, in law, in public policy, in the military that would get you through into your early 50s. And then you could, in those kinds of jobs, effectively retire early. You might have a wife who had looked after the home. You would have extremely good assets, and you could kind of turn around and say, hey, I'm just going to jump into politics now. Right?
Hello.
Worse than you couldn't do that. Nathan's here.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Hope you're enjoying your St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even say anything about Patrick's Day. Yeah, you bunch of fucking Fenian mix. Yeah.
Very sad. I had my brandy, I had my ginger beer, I had a bit of wine, and I played some video. So it's a good respite in the middle of Lent for those who practice. I think tomorrow is also Eid. So
Yeah,
Murbarak.
we're getting a lot of orange pingers in the chat. I think we're gonna have to change your name to Orange Pingers.
No, I've had it tested to multiple focus groups, and the idea of taking off the back of someone else, especially when my hairline is much worse than his, it's just not good for my brand. It's not good for the brand of the movement. So it's Nathan Porter. It's going to stay. Maybe Orange Patriot, Orange Porter, such things. But Orange Pingers.
The people have spoken.
We can't be supporting the use of drugs in the movement. I mean, I'm practically a teetotaler at this moment, so we can't.
Guys, do we like portrait or do we like landscape? I feel like my head is too big, and you can see how red my face is.
No, yeah, I need to be able to dox my Hansard somehow, so everyone knows that I'm a serious political operator.
Well, we'll leave it. We'll leave it.
You can see my vacuum.
I've only just realised we can do like screen sharing and stuff in here. Every week I learn something new about it.
Well, I think we should watch that Liberal video of the Revengers, as I call them.
Flynn's here. I think he's going to do like a director's commentary on it. Like just his heavy breathing as Jess comes out of the pool.
It's not so much the Jess Wilson stuff, which, by the way, John called her Jess Collins, so that calls the name recognition of the Victorian Liberal Party at all-time lows.
Oh, when did I do that?
No, you told me today you referred to her as Jess Collins, not Jess Wilson. It doesn't matter because no one knows who she is anyway. She's a first-term MP and has been a staffer since then.
If John fucking McGowan can't remember your name, you have
you're not a person.
Problem. Like,
John barely
meant to remember all these names.
No, I think the worst part of it really is that you've got Brad Rosewell and others. Brad, I've met him in person. He's an all right guy. I like him as a person. But watch the man run on camera, and you shouldn't be making any middle-aged man who isn't running often run on camera.
He looks terrible. They all look terrible.
The
gross nipples protruding. Like, honestly, like,
I don't know what the goal was there, because even Brad. The other Brad. Who's the opposition leader, Brad? Oh, someone help me here. Batten, yeah. He's doing these,
I remember
12.5 kilo reps. Yeah. And he's not even doing the reps. I mean, you can say, I'm not a gym guy. I'm going to say that first and foremost.
Me neither.
But I know gym guys, and they're very explicit about what counts as a rep and what doesn't count as a rep. She has a funny face. I won't comment on that.
I didn't watch that much of it. I watched the Jess Collins / Wilson thing multiple times.
No, it goes on for a long. It's every MP that has a shadow ministry, which is a lot of them because they're so small. So everyone's got a shadow ministry, and they're all doing their own little event. So we've got John Pasuto doing the discus, and he does a terrible job at that. Funnily enough, Matthew Guy, who's in the video, was on my bus this morning. That's a weird thing to have experienced.
Is that because he can't drive still? Is he?
I know. I think it might be a convenient way. I assume actually he lives right nearby me, which I've never checked before when I worked for an MP in the area to see if he lived near. But we get on at the same bus stop, and it's not like one of these park and ride things where you park the car. He's living nearby. He gets on the bus, and it's a very awkward interaction between him. We both pretend. I mean, maybe he has no idea who I am. We have met on several occasions. I'm not that important.
Maybe he thinks you're Purple Piggies.
Maybe he does. I mean, it's. I need to let the hair grow out here, and the hair grow out here, and then people might think that I'm Purple Piggies. But it's a hard life for a right wing man, apart from being cold. I wasn't really called anything today, was I? It was more just I exist, and that's good press. Is that Revive Australia exists?
Yeah. I was just pissed in that story that they didn't plug the stream, but that's what I get for Brian not showing up, right?
Well, look, Brian's a busy man, and I thought I'd help the stream out.
Welcome to the stream, close friend of the show. For those of you in the chat who don't know, Nathan Porter is former Liberal staffer, recent convert to One Nation,
Catholicism. Oh, that too.
Catholicism, yeah. And his uncannily looks like Purple Fingers.
It's weird though, because you look at the Liberal. There's this weird subset of politically active people that I look like. And unfortunately for me, they're not especially physiognomically attractive people. You've got the Liberal Nepean candidate, very similar, Jordan van der Lam. And then you've got that guy with the red hair who talks about public transport in Australia and all these niche things about.
Oh, I know the guy. I know the exact guy you're talking about. Yeah.
And we're all sort of operating in the same Marvel universe in parallel to
maybe you're all related. Maybe it's one of those like IVF things where it's like one guy just.
No, I think it's probably the soy milk from ages 9 to 11. I had that, and I think these guys had it too. Stunts the growth, makes the face look a certain way, and it needs to be legislated away. You cannot be feeding children soy milk. Don't do it.
Put that on the list of things for Pauline to do so that we
can South Lake's own says purple pingers with much less estrogen. That's my point.
I thought that was a sledge, but that's actually good.
It's good. It means I had less soy milk growing up because the soy milk has influenced me in such a way that I do look like purple pingers, but he's just further along the soy milk spectrum, if you will. The tofu indulgence.
Skull's saying we need an Orange Pingers folk song. Have you heard Purple Pingers music?
I have been. Look, I don't want to sledge the guy too much because I think you've got to, as far as like if a left-wing Labor guy or like Friendly Geordies or what have you, mainstream, he shits on those guys. And so I completely understand where he's coming from a far left perspective because he's my true opposition. He's not this fake establishment opposition from the liberal left wing or the right of the Labor Party.
He's quite affable as well. Like, I never have a problem with him.
No, I mean, he's an affable guy and he's funny. The only bad part is he calls me a Tory, which is just no one has used that term in Australia since 1920.
But you're going to get that for ages, man. Like newspapers still frequently refer to me as a former Liberal staffer. Like I'm like, what are all my other scandals? Like chopped liver? Come on, man. I've moved on a lot since then. I've been a rape apologist, a spy. I've been,
cocaine
runner, moderately successful. Remember they said I was a cocaine dealer at one point.
It was a
pimp. I've been a pimp. And there's some guys are just like, oh, he's just like a former Liberal staffer. I hate that.
It is. Look, it was a fun thing to be a part of when it was. I think the Melbourne University Liberal Club and all of the stew politics when you were in your prime in late 2010s. It was fun, but it's died out now. There's no fun to it. There's no raison d'etre. It's just it is, and therefore it should continue. I think once you get the socialist alternative debating the One Nation or whatever young group of right wingers they get on campus, when they're strong enough to actually collectivize, that's when it'll be fun again. But when young Liberals against young Labor, these people are, dare I say, feckless pissants, where there's no you don't see a trajectory for these young guys. They're trying their best. It's a facsimile of what politics used to be. And none of them get anywhere, and you can see that it is a buyback. You're right; it's a product of the environment. There's nothing. There's nothing going on.
Well, the Labor guys have trajectory because they can join the unions, right? So there's jobs for them. The thing for the Libs is there's no jobs. Like, what are you going to do? That's their ultimate problem.
Is my camera working, or am I going like 10 frames a second?
It is. It's just going at 10 frames per second. So. There's huge StreamYard issues. I'm going to send Brian a message about it. Actually, that we might.
I really think it's my computer. I have not upgraded this in some time. I appreciate everyone for standing back and standing by. The fluffer. Oof.
I was trying to do all this tech's been fucked for ages. Like YouTube updated shit. I couldn't even. There's a missing episode on YouTube because I didn't know how to stream it.
Look, we appreciate that a 40-year-old man is doing his best to save Australia. We can't ask for more than that from John, can we, folks? I think John's done his
I'm
best.
42, by the way. I turned 42
40.
in January.
That's the answer to life's problems, according to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
So I ticked my my Tinder and Hinge profiles have gone up by 1 year. Goodbye, 18-year-olds. It's weird to do that anymore.
John, they should have been gone long ago.
Starts at 19 now.
Divide by. Can someone do the maths of 42 divided by 2 plus 7, please? Just to remind John of what.
These girls aren't doing maths.
What is? Yeah, it's very surprising that John McGowan has a better hairline than me, being close to half his age. John could theoretically be my father. We won't go into the logistics of that, but
it's entirely possible. Yeah,
28. There you go, John. That's yeah.
I'm explicitly 42 on Tinder because that's what you want. You want to go on the Tinder dates where like she knows you're 42 and she is 20, and then that way there's no bullshit. Like you never have an awkward discussion about who pays for dinner when she's 22 years younger than you. It's just a given. Like it's just boom. You just go.
I don't know. In this modern day and age of work-life balance, like a lot of young people seem to be pretty cashed up, or somehow they magically get money to go on these Euro trips. It could be very strategic spending. What are your stream deets? I am at Nathan_Porter. I was Orange Pingers for a hot minute there, but my media team told me it wasn't good for the
brand. We've got to figure out a way to put everyone's shit up. I want the stream to look like a mess. We'll get to it later at the end, but I hope you guys have been watching Fish Tank last 24 hours.
Is Fish Tank back up?
Yeah, Fish Tank's back, dude. Fish Tank's back. Let's get into Fish Tank. But just before we do, I adore the aesthetic of Fish Tank. I love that just shit on the screen everywhere.
But it's moving things.
Font.
You've got the dopamine.
Yeah,
it's like having the jetpack joyride in the background to keep the attention going.
That's what I want. That's what I want the stream to look like. But yeah, it's back, dude. And the first day was great. It's already great. The guy's already left. Bam Margera is the host.
I'm really sad because it seems I am back in the wage cage, and I enjoyed my hiatus, my long honeymoon, as you call it. And you get back in and you miss everything. Canavan becomes leader. There's spills. I was in the paper today. I didn't know until I left the office. Paper, it's crikey. But and then Fish Tank's back. And I have been an avid watcher of Fish Tank merely because of the deep reflection of the human psyche that it reveals in such a naked way. I think last season was just so flagrant.
Last season was sublime. I know
really
it's been controversial.
Few people agree with me on that, John.
I agree with you. And it actually raises something that we should talk about. Is I think do you remember Durek? What was his name?
Yes, Drank, the Croatian or Bosnian girl from Sydney.
Drank has One Nation candidate written all over her. Like, why are you not getting Drank to be? She should be number one on this. It's 1 year today, so it's 1 year to go until the New South Wales state election. She needs to be number one on the One Nation ticket for the New South Wales upper house.
No, I think she's. I would push back against that and say Durank would be more of a lower house candidate. She's much more community orientated. She would be able to speak to the people of somewhere near Western. Again, I'm not a Sydney starter. Around Western Sydney somewhere.
Isn't Tanya Mihalik was Bosnian or something? I think
that checks out. Yeah, Herzegovinian or whatever.
The only problem is that her brother is a really bad murderer. There was that problem.
Look, I mean, you can't cast aspersions on the civil. I mean, this is the whole Cain and Abel. Well, Cain and Abel's probably not the best example, given one killed the other. But you can't blame. I'm not my brother's keeper, as they say. Yeah, and I think if someone has is your racist Asian GF as a One Nation candidate,
I think that's mine. Yeah.
Oh, do you have a racist Asian GF, John?
Needsless says Drink was Turkish. I haven't seen my racist Asian GF this week. Turkish. I saw her last week.
I don't think
mix them up. I'm high frequency.
I think it's like Durank as a personality is very go get him, and had that sort of just. Have you seen this? The South Australian girl, she just posted I think her name's Chantel or something. Hilarious video where she's just interviewing like 17 to 20-year-olds, asking them their thoughts on One Nation, and then just any.
Oh yeah, Corey posted that, but I didn't watch it. I haven't actually.
No, very funny. Like that's the sort of content that the young women who are in Young Nation just need to do, where you simply ask questions, and you don't have to be like a Charlie Kirk debater. I think everyone sort of disdains Charlie Kirk for that level of raconteur. But if you just ask the question and follow up with, okay, well, what it is about the Greens you like, and they can't answer, they look genius. If Durant goes out to Western Sydney, goes to a shisha bar, and I think it will do a lot for the Western Sydney blue collar vote, just to because it's universal that everyone likes going to shisha. I think, is that universal? Can I say that?
I'm going to find out. Remind me of this tomorrow. I'm going to devote myself to finding out what Drink is doing. She must be doing something. Like they all start streaming and whatever after they go.
John, can you give me the lowdown of day one of Fish Tank?
Okay, here's my review of day one. So day one. So we've got. Let's just have a look at the guests. The fish.
The fish.
My two favorites, early candidates for my two favorites are Bingo and Bongo, who are twins. They're all asleep right now.
Did anyone from the previous season use their money to get back into the game, or no one did?
No, I don't think anyone did. So far there's James. London is going to be this year's biggest lolcow. So he is a oh no, here's a different one. London hasn't really done much yet. Victoria is a crackhead. She's like the drink character.
Rhetorically, or
she had a cry and slept under the stairs because everyone said she was on Kratom. No idea if she really is yet. Bashir is an academic and Muslim. But he's a white Muslim. He's a white guy, Bashir, and he's going to be a good lolcow. The twins, Bingo and Bongo, are twins.
Really?
They claim today to have HIV, and they got it from their mother. They both have it. When no one's looking, they do like twin speak, and you can't always understand what they're saying. They are funny. James Drake is an actual actor that Victoria, Anissa, and Emma are already thirsting for pretty hard. Bezo was a strange gay man who left already because his boyfriend got doxxed. Emma is this season's thirst trap racist. So I missed the context of this, but there's a robot, like a Segway, that drives around the house, which has an Indian woman on it. And Emma has been being racist at her all day. So the producers got shitty at her, but her stock's rising. JD's not really done anything. Anissa's I think she's going to be like the sleeper hot one. And then there's like this middle-aged Asian woman called Charity who had a complete meltdown today after drinking an entire bottle of vodka and believes that her drinks are spiked and that everyone's in a cult and is trying to, I don't know, kidnap her or something. But it's great. It's my initial review. I'm spectacular.
So excited. I think there was an account that used to do these like 18, 20-minute recaps of the whole day.
Yeah.
And Rachel being the lolcow last year was so good.
Rachel was great. I think Rachel was one of their best ones. I mean, who was the Happer one with the feet that was constantly hiding her feet? What was her name?
I just remember she was like just 18 and her parent was on drugs or something. And it was a very weird, like the producers didn't realize that she had sort of just snuck her way onto the show. Really, again, it's candidate vetting. You've got to do it. Everyone's got to do it. Nepean, they didn't do it for the Liberals. Bring it back to Victorian politics. You've got to vet.
South Lake Zone says, I've watched Sam Hyde's content for 15 years, and Fish Tank is some of the most degenerate dog shit content he has ever produced. Can't believe you discerning patricians are fans. Hey, well, that's where you're wrong, because it's not a Sam Hyde show. It was always Jet's show.
Yeah, it's always
Jet just got Sam to go on it. It
I
had
think
nothing to do with Sam.
You've got to remember that from the patrician's view, you would go to these shows that would show the worst of people. They would depict the human psyche, the human experience in deep emotive fashion. And that's what Fish Tank really does, because there's Beast Games and Fish Tank are two sides of the same coin. However, one pretends to be virtuous. The only reason that Mr. Beast has such acclaim is because he's taken Squid Game, a critique of modern society and this cash grab culture, and he's just done it unironically. Whereas Fish Tank takes it to the extreme, says, what do people do for money? And remember, they're not in prison. They can leave whenever they want. They can have their decency and go. But a lot of these people, they're in it for the love of the game.
They're meme lords. Like, that's why I love it. We should do it here. We should do Sock Tank. We'll just get all our biggest racists out of the
No,
chat
I think you'd be in solitary confinement for some time, John, if you did that. They do often skirt.
Oh yeah, imagine E Karen. Imagine E Karen if you tried to do Fish Tank Australia. That would be.
You'd have to do it on like Nauru or some.
Yeah, we'd have to do it on an island. On a barge that you tow out to like international waters.
Well, at that point, we're just talking about Survivor, John, and we've done that multiple times. What else has happened in the news, John? Have we covered everything today?
I covered most things. So we covered underskirt Vietnamese international student who's not been deported. We covered the fuel crisis. We covered the interest rate rises. We covered weird thing about Dennis Richardson quitting. Then we kind of ranted about movies for a while. There's not much happening this week. I'm kind of glad. I don't want there to be much happening.
No, I can't. Apart from we've got South Australia on Saturday, and so the big
and you and I were talking about this the other night, actually. Which I don't know if I was ranting at you, but it was probably the first day of my my nicotine withdrawals kicking in. But it's going to be a big test. Saturday's going to be the first big test for One Nation. If they underdeliver electorally, there's going to be problems.
They're going to get 2 to 3 upper house. I mean, we are. I'm on the team here, big team player.
Yeah, remember, it's you. Yeah,
we're locking in for 3. I've spoken to a few people. I've had my quantitative zinger do the numbers, and looking at the numbers, they're 3, 4, even 5. They're all up for grabs, but it just depends on which way the preferences go. I think not putting in a preference line, that seems to reflect 98 in Queensland, where there were those 2 seats where they didn't put in the preferences correctly and they didn't get government. How many, John? Yeah, have you experienced a one only and then tick every box campaign? How's that gone when it comes to regular punters going out? Do you have a lot of informals from that? Do you not have a lot of informals? Because that seems to be the issue for me. Is like, what I understand the vibe of not putting anyone in, because the only other option from not putting anyone in is just putting the incumbent last, which a lot of people wouldn't really resonate with, especially on the Liberal side. But the informal seems to be a problem.
Yeah, look, not telling them actually how to vote is going to be a bad move. I mean, some smart parties sometimes do like multiple how to vote. So you got to tell them, because, like, as I said at the beginning of the show, these people are fucking morons. Look, I don't know the extent. I mean, South Australia is probably a bit of a better jurisdiction in terms of average IQ, so maybe it could be okay. I just think a big part of the problem is maybe they don't really. I don't think they care about it that much. Like, there would be ways to game it. And speaking of gaming it, I mean, I think there's this issue in South Australia with Sarah Game is going to pull a bit off them. So
yeah, the preference deals from that. TP Oz released a preference sheet, and Sarah Game is surprisingly high on a lot of them. Now, is she still head of her own party, or is
she is. So
still?
She kicked someone else out. So there's another guy that's running for her that she said that you couldn't vote for. She said don't vote for it.
And he's still on the ballot.
He's still on the ballot. It's too late.
It's my Nathan.
It's too late to get him off.
just filling that up. It's got a cute little. It's very. I found it one of those cheap home and hardware places, and it was just too quirky for me not to buy it. Because again, I am one of these quirk chungus people in the universe of purple pingers, and
we need
if
more of
someone
that.
can remind me, it's you sip out of the straw here. Look at that.
I know that. Do you sip out of the straw of those?
I hope so.
I thought
Do you
it was
not? I've been
there to,
drinking it wrong this entire time. If someone knows,
No, I
in the
thought it
chat,
was something to do with the
aeration.
Like, yeah, I didn't think you actually sipped out of them. Steely Dan is saying that port flask is election losing. Keep it hidden from the general public. I like it. I think it's got like Caleb Bond vibes. It's giving fountain pen collection.
I collect hand cider. I mean, it's not getting any better for me. Are we really? I'm not a cool person. I'm aware of that. I'm leaning into it. Drinking cheap wine.
The problem with a lot of these guys is that like kind of bucolic, like man of the people. Like I go to football and eat Vegemite sandwiches. That just gets really tedious after a while. No one believes.
I'm not going axe throwing. I'm not doing it. I'm not one of these man. I'm not getting a collection of monthly delivered whiskeys from various places. I will go. I'll get a reasonable whiskey and I will drink it over the next 3 months. I'm not picky about it. All of it's marketing. You've got to remember, anything that you think makes you cool is some guy in an office who's decided you're the target market for that brand.
I drink cheap whiskey. I never drink expensive whiskey. There used to be this guy used to get drunk at the there's a pub in Sydney called the Edinburgh Castle Hotel, which is a really great place to go on Anzac Day. And there used to be this old timer there who would go every year. And he was like one of the last guys who was in the war. And he would get to the bar and he would slam his hand on the table and says, "Top shelf whiskey, sir." But they would always pour him 2 fingers of Johnny Walker Red. And one year, and it was like a bit that he did every year. And one year I was there with a fucking minister and this like dickhead young liberal said, "Oh, that's not a top shelf whiskey, sir." And so this guy, it's the reason I drink cheap whiskey. He looked at him and he said, "When this was what top shelf whiskey was when I got back from the war." And he said, when we got back from the war, the best whiskey you could get was Johnny Walker. What we now drink as like expensive single malts, back when he was a kid, that's what shit whiskey tasted like. And the reason why Johnny Walker was so good was because it was made the same, and every glass of Johnny Walker you would ever drink tasted exactly the same. And to the 1940s palate, that was incredible, because you would get catgut sometimes. You would get bad whiskey sometimes. It was being made in barrels in basements. Like, it wasn't always good. So the idea of a whiskey that tasted like that every single bottle you ever opened was considered what made it top shelf. And ever since that guy said that, I just drink mass-produced blends. That's what I drink every day.
Whatever is like $25 at the bottle shop. I used to live near the Arcadia Hotel, and you go in there, they have these fantastic $9 clean skin wines and some cheap $27 bottle of whiskey. You'd bring that home and then open up for the boys. No one knows. Yeah. Canadian Club also very good. No one knows. You put Coke in it.
I'm addicted
it doesn't matter.
to West Point Casino Canadian Club and Dry on tap right now. That's my new favorite beverage. Someone just mentioned a piece of news we didn't cover. Iron Deficiency Anima says, anything on Albo plastered at the footy? I want to talk about this because this is so funny, I think. This is like Albo's big man of the people moment. Like he takes a $5,000 fine to do a pitch invasion at a Rabbitohs game, and no one fucking cares. Like, if he had done this 20 years ago, if John Howard had done that 20 years ago, it'd been front page news for 3 days. Like, there would be songs written about it. There would be a play about the day John Howard ran on a footy ground, right?
But John, do you think that's because the overall caliber of politicians has just decreased to such a margin that everyone's like, he's on par with the Darrow, who's jumped on the pitch now. It's not the condescension of a statesman coming onto the pitch for his team.
It just had zero cultural impact. Like, Guys, test this out during the week. Just ask normies about it. Nathan, when you're on the bus tomorrow, like ask a normie.
I don't talk to people on the bus. I stay quiet like a good Anglo. I put my headphones in. I listen to my podcasts. I pray my rosary, and that's it.
I haven't gotten on a bus since May of last year because there are no buses in Tasmania.
No, but I think the whole like seeing my local member and leader of the opposition, well, oft times leader of the opposition, Matthew Guy, on a bus, it is really black pilling of where where Australia is, because this guy was almost the premier three times, and 3 times. And he, we're on the same bus. There's no difference between us. Now, I'm not going to go into the fact that he was sitting in a priority seat and put his bag next to him so no one could sit next to him until the bus was full, and then he gave it up. Yeah. But still, you've got to give the man, if he's on the bus, just that little bit of leverage. You are an MP, give him that. But by golly,
Gladys Berejiklian was obsessed with catching the bus, and I used to talk to the security guys. They fucking hated it, and I think those things are so bad to do. You should never do them as a leader of a country. Like even like guys like Javier Milei doing I'm going to catch a economy flight to save the government money. Okay, what happens if a terrorist blows up the plane to kill you? Right? What happens if a schizo gets on the bus to take a shot at the premier? Right? But so I think then your media optics are going to get people killed. That's why we give them cars. That's why we give them planes. Is so you're not endangering normal people with your bullshit. But I hate it. That's what they should.
When's the last time that a we can't even call them statesmen anymore because there are none, but a politician has been attacked apart from an egg in the back of the head several times?
I was having this discussion with a cop the other day. He was telling me that apparently all these ones on Albo are quite legit, that it is becoming a problem. That Albo is just getting constant death threats, and schizos, sovereign citizens and shit are constantly trying to kill him. Which that's bad, and those people should go to prison. I
went up to Albo and I asked him a question, and the AFP were very understanding. They're like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "Well, look, I'm just a citizen journalist, just going to ask him a question. That's all." And they're like, "Yeah, all right, mate, have fun." And they were good. Yeah. They're just regular blokes. If you're not going to try and attack the guy and you're a normal person, there's nothing wrong with asking the Prime Minister a question. But I think you've got these schizos who are going out and they think voices are talking to them. They're in the tunnels area, the 5G, the chemtrails people, and some of them.
But they're good with that shit. They have fucking Palantir and stuff. If one of those people shows up, they got it. Mike Kelly works for them.
Really?
That's why they're down here. Yeah. If those kinds of people, they're going to know straight away. Lawrence was in the chat earlier from What's News. I mean, he got a few good ones in.
He did do. Thank you, Steely Dan Enjoyer, Nathan _Porter. We've upgraded from Orange Pingers. It wasn't good for the brand.
No, that's probably not. But, look, you shouldn't take pot shots at politicians. I think that's why everyone got kind of pissed off at. I don't think we got around to talking about it last week, but March for Australia did that whole go and hassle your politician campaign. Did you see that?
I did see that, and the fact that Tim Wilson said that there was a neo-Nazi / CMFEU guy that came up to him,
which is a really but that's what it was.
It was. It was the National Workers Alliance.
That's the thing we have. We have these Strasserist guys.
But I just don't having. We've both worked for MPs. We know how they treat, or you just. The standard procedure for someone who constantly rings up to complain about something is you block the number. After a while, you let them chat for 3 to 5 minutes. If they hit more than 15, you hang up. Yeah. You're done. The best way to influence a politician really is to just become a voting member of the seat that they live in and be a pre-selector, because then they'll care.
Or start a lobbying company.
Even at the state level, that doesn't do much.
Or be rich.
Yeah, well, at least you'll have
Or
money in
just
this
be rich.
country.
Yeah.
It's either that or
Yeah.
NDIS, and at this point, I'm choosing NDIS. There's
Yeah,
enough money
yeah,
in there
man.
for all of us.
I
But
don't know. I mean,
how do you
yeah.
see, John? How do you see the next 9 months playing out in Australia? What is the best case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? Instill in us the wisdom.
The best case scenario is like One Nation just somehow, I don't know, they hire all like Rupert Lowe's top thinkers and fucking, I don't know, a bunch of American strategists and, you know, buy a bunch of shit hot tech and start campaigning well. You'll know more about whether that's going to happen than me. Look, the worst case scenario that I'm really worried about is if the outcome for the South Australian election for One Nation, if the primary has a 1 in front of it, that's going to be very bad. And so if we've got a primary of like 19, 18, 17, wouldn't be the first time they've underperformed on primary in a state election. The public who have been willing to, you know, go retarded for them, to use the GameStop analogy that I'm fond of, who are just holding the stock, you know, that public are doing it because they think One Nation can win in a federal.
Do you not think that the scope of One Nation's their win criteria really is, you know, 1 or 2 lower house, 2 to 3 upper house? Do you think, because if that's the win criteria and they get that,
and look, and they could entirely, that you're right. I don't think that's a win criteria. I think they could get that and win. I think the win criteria for these state campaigns is the final primary in the state campaign, the amalgamated primary, has to be within the acceptable range of what they're polling. If it's not, the public, if you look at these polls, every time these polls come out, it's like this rolling stone. The voting public, and we know, we've seen polls where as much as 56% of the Australian public are considering voting for them, even if they're not already voting for them. And every time one of these polls come out and they're performing well, the public goes, okay, they're doing well. I want to back a winner. I don't want to make this enormous leap to back losers. And so, because if they wanted to do that, they could have backed Rennick. They could have backed Australia First, like any of the other attempts at any kind of reactionary radical movement in Australia, the people could have got on with. But they're polling 1%. I mean, if I can look at the Libertarians, right? 1.5, I think, on a good day. So if the final result doesn't look like what they signed on for, that is the problem. And look, you're right. It could only be, you could get in South Australia, it's entirely possible that their total primary is only 25, 26. It's 25, 26, and they only get 2 upper house spots and a couple of lower house spots. That's entirely likely. But it'll be even if they get a couple of lower house spots and a couple of upper house spots, which they could still do on 18-19, but it's the 18-19 that around the country everyone's going to look at and go, well, hold on.
Yeah, but John, don't you think we're facing a bit more of a yes-no referendum style thing, that there seems to be a lot more just undercurrent? I mean, you may have seen my little video speech I did at a Young Nation event where a mate of mine had told me he went around on Chapel Street, you know, Sodom and Gomorrah of Melbourne City, where everything happens, all sorts of having fun and whatever the youths do these days, asking the young people, who are you voting for? And the Chapel Street degenerates, they all, not all, but a vast majority said, yes, Rev's nationalism. They said they're voting One Nation.
Yeah.
Do you not think that when you get to the ballot box, they're just going to put one there instead? Or do you think that they need to have the piece of paper in front of them for them to vote One Nation? Or I think if
people stop seeing One Nation as viable, that no one wants to come out the back of 2028 losing, right? Because we know that in Australia, in modern Australia, there are consequences for being on the wrong side. You know, you are going to, you know, these guys are going to like make sure our lives are fucking miserable. Like they don't have enough time to do it now, and they're already doing it to some sections of the right. But if Labor wins convincingly post 2028, it's going to look like what you're seeing in some states in the US now, like with the Doge guys, right? Like they'll put you and Brian in front of a Senate hearing and quiz you about what Revive was up to. They'll go after the guys from Advance. They'll go after everyone. And I think that mood is filtering all the way down to the lowest common denominator, where even ordinary people who are looking at the targeting of political activists are saying, well, shit, I'm only voting for these guys if I think they can win. I think we've all figured out that democracy in this country is dead. So no one wants to vote for One Nation and make it part of their kind of personal identity if they think there's a risk they could blow back on them afterwards.
So I think you're overthinking it, John. I think I don't think it's the average voters thinking that. I think that we need to make these. I mean, you spoke to me earlier about how the punishment, that no one really cares what the end outcome is. We just want to see Angus Taylor and Albanese cry on live TV. But
that's right. But they have to see it. So losing isn't an option, right? And I think the risk for One Nation is that if they don't deliver the high primaries, that voters are going to start looking for someone else to do it. And the big risk for One Nation in that environment is UAP. Because UAP are already there.
No,
dude. You say that now, but remember, they've already gone retarded for One Nation. So the thing One Nation has to remember is that there is nothing special about One Nation here. They're lucky to be in the right place at the right time.
No, I disagree. I think I think the policies, the immigration policies, what's been articulated by Pauline from now until then, has never been articulated by Clive. First of all,
no, Clive's got a better immigration policy.
Does he?
Yeah, Clive's on the pause. Clive's
chat. Can we pull this up?
Because in my
One Nation, One Policy, I agree.
In my in the Mercury, he's running full page ads every day. He's running
on just support. He's already running ads in Tasmania.
He's running the ads in the News Corp press everywhere. He probably isn't running them in the Herald Sun because they're a waste of money. But in the rest of the country, Clive is running them everywhere. Now, look, he's retarded, but no offense, so are you guys. So if there's any kind of issue with One Nation, I think you're just going to see this leakage to them, which could just be disastrous.
But as far as candidates go, I think the people who know and they've backed the One Nation horse, they're still slightly risk averse, right? They're not going to jump across to another thing. You can only have, I mean, how many people are in the lower house in Australia? Is it 96? Is that right? Am I right there?
In our lower house? No, it's like 100 and something, man. It's like
okay. 100, so
like 170 something? Yeah.
170, you've got to find 170 people, and then you've got to find another, two people, 150. Good heavens, that's 150. Yeah. We're doubling that, aren't we?
No, they're not going to be able to double in the lower house, but they want to double it in the upper house.
Really? Double? Well, if you double, regardless, you need to find bums on seats, and there's only so many capable people who can run for these places. And if you don't have, I mean, where are let's say for maths, the 300 capable right-wing people? They could be business owners, they could be community activists, but you need 300, one from both parties to be able to run. I don't think Australia has 300 articulate, capable, conservative people who want to see an end to immigration. It's gonna start fracturing in all parts as the candidates, because everyone's going to be scraping at the bottom of the barrel at some point.
There could be, I don't know, I wouldn't put it past there being a lot of lunatics out there, but yeah, we shall see. Now, hey, it's actually 10:30 and I've been streaming since 8, and I'm kind of desperate to go outside for a cigarette because this vape has been out for a while. So I'm going to jump off. You're welcome to stay on and try and hold.
Oh, that wouldn't be wise, John. I might say
Well, we could just do like I am determined to do like John's pop culture hour at some point where
I think
that
that'd be
was
good.
fun. That was the most fun I've had on the stream in a while, guys. We were just like talking about like movies and anime and shit. I'd like to do that. I think my soul needs it because I think I just get angry and frustrated when I talk about politics, and it's not good for me. I'm getting wrinkles.
Well, just as a final point,
up.
I think with all of the slotfluencers that we have in the world, in this country especially,
yeah,
you need to step back. You need to engage in culture. You can't get drawn into the rage bait and the stream of consciousness that is X. There's a world out there you can enjoy. You don't have to do it. I think a New Oz Ride book club would be good. We can read.
A book club would be fun. We'll do movie night. We're gonna figure out a way that I can just fill the stream up with unaesthetic noise. Like I want like some kind of pixelated characters that come across the screen. And I also discovered that inside StreamYard I can do like fart noises and things. Like
that's fantastic. If you can do the whole if you remember Kino Casino.
No, you can do that.
Whatever Kino Casino did, where they've got everything going, like the kill stream. That was peak because we're here in 2015. The US is already in 2026. We still haven't had the kill stream.
We haven't had any of that stuff. I can do drum roll. I guess we're doing reactions to things, and I mean we've been leaving shit on the table for a while.
I think we have. I think we need to do reaction content where we're watching whatever gets views on TikTok. That needs to happen from now. But I'll leave you. I'll leave the crowd.
All right, Matt. Thanks for coming on. Thank you to all the sock puppets and sociopaths for joining us and contributing to the stream with your thoughts, your dreams, your desires. We will see you next Tuesday. Stay conscious.
Stay conscious.
I'm ending it. Oh, it takes me a second.